welcome to episode 4 of Game and Movie. This week we are taking apart and dissecting Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yeah!
And guess what? Guess what the game is?
Yes.
Dances with Wolves.
No! No, it's not!
Oh!
No, it's not Dances with Wolves, Trevor. It is Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves for the NES.
Alright.
You should have known that because you're the one who actually suggested the game and the movie.
I requested this one, you guys. I apologize in advance.
Oh, it's
No
not that
apologies
bad.
necessary.
Yeah. So let me introduce the guest to you today. To my left here is Mark Peterson making his second appearance on Game and Movie, back from episode 1 with a vengeance. How you doing, Mark?
I'm very happy to be here. I'm making a Game and Movie podcast history by being the return guest.
You are. Excellent. And to his left is Trevor Bruskowski. How are you, my man?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Shit, yeah.
Also making history because this is the nefarious Trevor who's been mentioned in probably every other podcast so far. So.
Yeah, now I can have a voice with which to answer these accusations that...
They give him a little bit of a hard time. But.
Yeah. It's all in good fun. You know that. Before Trevor gets out his piss and vinegar out on everyone who has wronged him in the past episodes... Oh, my name is Anthony Schwader, by the way. Let's get that the fuck out of the way. I want to know what you guys have been doing this week. Mark, what have you been up to and what have you been playing?
I have been, just living life, just working as hard as I play, trying to toe the line between drinking as much as I can, drinking coffee, and not having a panic attack. And I've been playing Rocket League.
Ooh, yeah, on the PS4, right?
Yeah, that's kind of an addiction that just won't go away. That game is really excellent.
Now, Rocket League, that reminds me of, it's basically soccer played with vehicles.
Yeah, it's like foosball, but you're in a car.
Yeah.
It's really excellent. The controls are great.
God.
I don't know, I just love it. It's like everything in the 10-year-old boy in me just loves.
So it's like Twisted Metal, but with a soccer ball that you're kicking around.
Yeah. The graphics are great. It's online play mostly. It's really excellent, and I mean the learning curve is there. Like I got to a point where I can still get better, but I've also been playing Broforce for the PS4.
What is that?
Broforce.
That's one of the free games that came out recently, this month actually.
I really like that game. Besides some glitchy controls a little bit here and there, it's funny, pop culture references all over the place. It's just action movie characters, but their names are Bro, like Indiana Brones or
wow,
etc. And it's an excellent game. It's fun. You can just play it every once in a while. And I've been playing Twilight Princess Remastered HD.
Rocket League makes me a little bitter because I got my PS4 for Christmas this year. I bought it for myself, and Rocket League was actually offered as a free game through the PlayStation Plus. Which is a subscription that you can buy, and you get free games, 2 free games every month.
Yeah. And
I signed up in January. I think that was offered to PS Plus members in October.
I can't say for sure, but I've been playing it ever since it came out.
So man, so I'm a little bit bitter about that, and a little jealous because that game does.
It's like $15. I played it enough. I probably would have played it the amount that it's worth at this point.
Nice, a good endorsement coming from you.
I think so. Yeah.
Trevor, how about you? What have you been doing, and what have you been playing?
Well, I was unaware that you got 2 free games every month.
It's not like Xbox
Plus.
where you pay for the subscription for online play and you don't get shit.
I have PlayStation Plus, and I have not been getting free games or looking for them.
Oh my god!
But apparently I need to be looking for them.
Two games, is it every month?
Every month, yeah.
Wow, okay.
You need to get Broforce for free. That should be number one priority when you get home, is boot up that motherfucking PlayStation 4 and claim your 2 free games. It's not just to play online. Yeah, you're spending $50, but they reward you.
Controls are excellent.
I really don't have any time for any other games except Fallout 4.
So that's been what you've been playing.
I am lost deep within Fallout 4 at this point. And
you're the kind of guy who just plays a game.
This one is enough for me to be absorbed into.
Didn't you play Skyrim for like 500 hours or something?
I definitely played Skyrim for a long time and never beat it either. Just enjoyed exploring the world and doing things, which is why I love Fallout 4 so much. I've been building settlements. I've been.
Can people see your settlements? Like people who are also playing, like, is it an open world online? That's what I don't.
Not that I know of. I mean, you can come over to my house and I'll show you my settlements. But I'm not even playing the game like as far as like doing the quests or anything like that or the storyline. I am just simply building settlements.
Trevor just wants to escape reality, pretty much.
Don't we all?
I went as far as to build a basketball arena in my settlement.
That's awesome.
The current seating capacity, I believe, is at 273.
Holy shit! What is this, a small arena?
Do people come and watch?
Well, I mean, you can only have...
You get, like, mutants.
You can only have 20 people. You can only have 20 people in your settlement at any time anyways, so...
Well, why didn't you just make seating capacity at 20 then?
There you go.
Are you spending extra money you shouldn't, Trevor? Or caps, I should say.
Yes, I am.
You know, I'm a little jealous of you because you exude that dedication towards one game that has, like, somehow almost seemingly escaped me since my youth. Where I would take the dedication and just put it towards one game. And I guess you can blame, you know, a lot of, like, things that are today so much different from before. So many good games are releasing at once. But you do have that dedication. I'm a little bit jealous of your dedication towards one game.
I certainly, I play Star Wars Battlefront a little bit.
Okay, sure.
And I'm also playing Far Cry Primal a little bit.
Yeah, what do you think of that one?
It's okay, but it's not as good as
shoot a
Fallout
gun.
4. It's not as good as Fallout 4, and I keep coming back to that, and I have to keep playing that. I still buy vintage Nintendo games, so I recently found a few that I hadn't had before.
Okay, what have you gotten, if you can remember?
Going to his notes.
I wrote this one down. I just bought Little Ninja Brothers.
That's one I don't have.
Me neither.
Pretty rare. I haven't played it yet, though. I just bought it. Star Tropics 2.
Zoda's Revenge.
What's Little Ninja Brothers? Let's go back to that.
Little Ninja Brothers? I don't know.
You haven't tried it.
I just know that I did not have it, and it was cheaper than the asking price on eBay, so...
I will put $100 down on a bet that it's a platformer.
I believe it is. I saw some screenshots. I also bought Adventure Island 2.
Ooh.
I did not have that one yet. Mm-hmm. Captain America and the Avengers.
Okay.
Kind of a lousy game, I believe.
Is it like a brawler?
I'm not sure. I haven't played it yet.
It sounds like a traditional Capcom brawler.
I also got Roller Games, which I'm sure Magoo is listening and is laughing.
Well, what do you have to say to Magoo for buying roller games?
Now's the time.
This was a heavy accusation geared towards you, that you buy shitty games.
A couple years ago, Trevor came to me and said, I'm going to buy every NES game. And in this world where nothing is definite, I mean, a goal like that, there's 700 games, I'm going to get them all. I think I can get behind that. Like,
that's a very possible goal.
I think so, too. And
I don't know
it
how
makes
possible
you feel,
it is.
Well, there's a lot there. Monetarily, definitely.
I'm not going for all 800 whatever, but 700, that's a pretty reasonable goal.
Fuck yeah, it is. Now, if you're excluding like Nintendo World Championships,
definitely.
If you're excluding, I don't know, DuckTales 2, I don't know if you are or not, but these are titles that are way stupidly priced now. And I know that you know this because you and I have had many talks about 8-bit NES collecting.
Right, I do not need to get Little Samson or any of those other cartridges.
Flintstones at, what is it, Dinosaur Peak?
Right, anything over $100 is not worth it for me. My current NES count is 426.
Damn, dude, you have about 126 up on me.
426 games, and they're all great.
Magoo, you hear that?
And he plays them every day.
I play them all. Dance aerobics.
Sesame Street 1, 2, 3, and ABC.
Barbie.
Hey, there's a lot of really good games. Thanks for pointing those out.
Those are great.
Yeah.
Fisher Price.
Yeah, all the Fisher Price series, sure.
Big Bird, Hide and Speak.
Oh my god, the fucking hours melted away.
I don't think you can fault anyone for having a collection. I mean, as pointless as life is, just completely in general, why not collect something?
Yeah, Magoo and Adam Smash, you can fuck off.
And when you see a collection, someone's Nintendo, when you go to their house and you see like their big wall of Nintendo games or something, that's a moment that is awe-inspiring.
It's like a 12-year-old's wet dream.
Yeah,
fucking it is.
That's what I would put it.
That's what I'm chasing too, man. Like as a fellow collector who will pick up terrible games just like you. They don't talk like that about me that I know of. But you were an easy target for some reason, and
he wasn't in the room, so.
Well, yeah. Well, I have the need to defend you.
Thank you.
Of course. I've been playing lately since I just got my 3DS. That I actually bought that new Nintendo 3DS. I have been playing Pokemon Picross, which is a beautiful puzzle game that uses logic. I'm really into logic puzzles, and it uses numbers on a grid, if you can imagine a piece of grid paper. It uses numbers on the top and the right side only to fill in these grids.
Are you describing how to play Picross right now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Is that odd to you?
It just seems odd. I mean,
I've never played it.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. I described what PlayStation Plus was earlier.
Okay. This is an informative podcast.
As a podcast, I'm assuming that people listening to this for the first time have no idea what anything that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. So it may seem pedestrian to you and I to describe something like that. Like, everyone knows that, but no, not everyone actually knows that. Anyways,
what is excellent
Nintendo?
Well, I'm assuming they know that. When you are done with the puzzle using your logic clues, the puzzle is actually, it turns out to be a picture of something. And you get that little reward when you're done with a logic puzzle, and you are rewarded with, a picture.
So it makes like a little Mario Paint style 8-bit.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah, it pretty much does.
It's like Sudoku, but you get a reward at the end.
Right. Yeah, exactly. A logic puzzle like Sudoku, and, you end up with a picture. Other than that, I did pick up for my Wii U The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD Remake along with Mark. We got that awesome amiibo with it.
I got the amiibo.
Oh my god,
it's so cool. What do you think of the
cool.
amiibos, or just in general?
Well, okay, with amiibos, I really, really enjoy the fact that it is a detailed figure. Something that Nintendo fans have never had before. I mean, you could get like a plush doll. And most of those even were terrible. They were made by Davidson and Associates. They weren't really, really good. But these are detailed and, oh god, they're just cool little toys.
Just as collectibles, I think.
Definitely. Definitely.
Do they have any points of articulation, or are they just...
No, they don't move at all. But they do
statues.
interact with the Wii U gamepad, which is maybe limited, but, at least they do something.
So it's like a Skylanders.
Exactly. I think that was kind of the inspiration. I think it's a genius move on Nintendo's part just to have them. Like, of course, their kids are going to lay down $13 or $12 for the whatever ones. But, I mean, if you go to Target, you can only get like 5 or 6 of them, and they're not really...
So, yeah, there's a couple of points about amiibos that are points of contention. With games like Splatoon, they actually hide content behind the amiibo. So if you have the amiibo and you scan it in, it recognizes it as a character from Splatoon. It offers you more one-player content, which is, I think, that sucks. It's not a good move. Because you need to buy a toy in order to experience more of the game. And I think that's wrong.
Yeah, I do too.
That's not cool. I mean, if you want to buy the toy and it helps out with the game, like here or there, with new ideas or new power-ups or whatnot, whatever the amiibo brings, that's fine. But the moment you start to lock away content is when I start to say, that fucking sucks. Why? I paid fucking $60 for this game. All of that content should be here without me having to buy a $14 toy.
I completely agree. I noticed that same thing in Arkham City or Arkham, whatever, one of the Batman games. You could pay extra and get the DLC, which was like Robin or something, and there are extra missions you can play if you pay an extra $10 or $5 to get this character. And I'm like, I already bought the game for $60. That character should just be in the game.
Well, then
why pay an extra whatever so you can play as Catwoman and then have extra missions too? That just feels like you're getting cheated.
I think you're against DLC as
but that
as
didn't even
core
come
concept.
out. That didn't even come out later. That came out like in tandem with the game's release. So it's like they were planning. I mean, if it comes out later, that's fine. Like, yeah, we've added some stuff you can pay for. Like, that makes sense. But it's we're locking this away for the people who want to pay that extra money for
right.
this.
No, and I agree with you.
That's bullshit.
There was a time, too, when Capcom, and I forget what game it was, Capcom had DLC on the disc that you could only unlock by paying money. And people had a shit fit. Yeah. They had a fucking cow over this, and I understand why. You don't put DLC on the disc. DLC is downloadable content, and that's what it stands
People
for,
just
right?
pissed off about the semantics. Like, this isn't downloadable.
Right, so, I mean, there's been a lot of points of contention with DLC. Amiibo's fine. I think it's good as a toy. The figures, more often than not, are worth the price of admission.
Yeah.
And
Smash Brothers it's good for because you can play as those characters.
Every single character from Smash Brothers has had an amiibo. So,
but if they're like action figures, I would assume that just like Star Wars action figures, they're going to be limited on where you can find them, or certain ones might be rare.
Exactly.
So to put downloadable content on it would be like if you had purchased a game and now you need to go search out this rare, hard to find action figure that's going to give you a couple extra levels. I mean, that if you don't have access to eBay or the internet to go purchase this thing, I mean, that sounds maddening to have to go search store after store to go try to find a Mario figurine in order to play 2 extra levels.
It's correct. And when Nintendo first unveiled Amiibo, characters like Little Mac, who, from Punch-Out series, and some characters from like the Fire Emblem series that appear in Super Smash Brothers, they were extremely limited because Nintendo had no idea that this is going to be this huge. And so now these prices, scalpers, bought them all, and they're selling them for upwards of $100.
Those poor little kids who just want a little Mac.
Right? Exactly. Well, everyone, that's it for the intro. We've got some extra special music here for you to listen to. I want you dancing out on the dance floor, motherfuckers, because this is a bouncy tune. Oh man, that was quite the tune, wasn't it? I was bouncing in my seat.
Dancing.
Holy shit, that was awesome.
Trevor.
Trevor, I didn't know you could spin that fast on your back.
I spin very fast.
That skirt looks dazzling as you spin. I just gotta say.
Just all the, I don't know, what is that? Glitter? Did you glue glitter on there?
What are those things that in the 80s they had those like the rocks that you like popping? Okay, whatever. It was like you put it on your jean jacket and like I can't believe
no one knows what you're talking about.
Oh, a bedazzler?
Bedazzler!
Oh, it's
there we go.
Bedazzler.
The bedazzler.
Well, as you can see, I am bedazzled from head to toe.
It isn't
You're a
stunning.
sparkling sight.
Thank you.
Have you ever heard of vajazzling? I mean, this isn't a kid-centric podcast, but some girls, they'd shave their business up right tight, and then they'd put little sparkling stones down there for their, whoever wants to enjoy that.
I can only imagine. That's beautiful.
I know. That must be kind of a bitch taking them off.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're here to talk about the movie Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I'm going to go on a little tear away here, a little breakdown. This movie was produced by Morgan Creek Productions, distributed by Warner Brothers, which is, of course, a Time Warner company. Don't sue us. We are just a fledgling podcast. It was rated PG-13. Its release date in the USA was the 14th of June, 1991. 2 days away from my birthday, folks. Happy birthday to 13, 14-year-old me.
You would have been 14 years old?
Let's just go over how old we were. I was 8.
You were
8?
You were 8 years old? I was 10 years old when this movie.
I think I was 14. I don't know. I'm not
going
to do the math.
We were all in the prime of our lives.
I was born in 76. It came out in 91. You guys do the math.
It's a PG-13 movie. I mean, did you have parental guidance when you saw it? Or did you see it?
Oh, no. We went over this in the last podcast, but I didn't definitely have parental guidance. My mom was like, that's Kevin Costner's ass! And she covered up my eyes. But
at the box office, it brought in $165 million. And this is off of a budget of only $48 million.
Wow.
And that's 1991 money.
Yeah.
That's not like Waterworld.
The tagline to this movie was, sometimes the only way to uphold justice is to break the law.
Nice.
Whoa.
It had a second tagline. But
I live by that every day.
You got caught for shoplifting recently. You fucking rebel.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna give the money, the food that I stole, the bag of almonds, to a starving child.
Oh my God! You would have been like a
I'm
real
like
life
a modern
Robin Hood.
day Robin Hood.
You are awesome, Mark.
I know.
You really are.
Thank you.
The director was Kevin Reynolds. Kevin Reynolds didn't do much, actually. He started in 1980 with a short film called Proof. He went on in 1985 to direct Fandango. Then he did Robin Hood. He did Waterworld in 1995. And he's still active today with a film that is in post-production called Risen.
Oh.
About you-know-who.
Kevin
No
Costner?
kidding.
No, this is the director Kevin Reynolds.
But the
No.
movie Risen is
It's
about
about-
Kevin Costner?
No. Hey, it's almost Easter. I think you know who he's talking about.
Kevin Costner's
The
career.
Lord
It
is
has,
saying-
it has risen.
The story in the screenplay was written by Penn Densham. What a weird name. Penn?
That's weird. That's a good screenwriter name.
Yeah, it...
Perfect.
Oh my
His
God.
name's Penn. Get him on this project.
He's bored for the role.
That's like when football players have the names like
Joey Center.
yeah, something like that.
Nate Wide Receiver.
So, like, he's screwing up a lot, and they're like, get Whiteout Jones in here.
Wow, Whiteout. How'd you
Whiteout.
come up with that name? How'd your parents name you that? So yeah, he's written that. So yeah, Penn Densham, he wrote that along with John Watson. Penn by himself, he's done a couple of TV series. Actually, both these guys. But he wrote for The Outer Limits, which was a TV series.
I love that show. That was
But
good.
this-
It's like
this-
a modern day, well, not modern, but like more modern Twilight Zone.
That's right. Yeah,
Pretty
from
good.
1995 to 2001, he only wrote 3 episodes though.
Oh.
And then the 2002 TV series of The Twilight Zone, he wrote 2 episodes for that.
No shit.
But what strikes me is these 2 guys are birds of a feather. Since 1974, they've been just like together writing screenplays. They had a documentary short, Thoroughbred, a screenplay, The Zoo Gang in 1985, a gnome named Norm
I remember that.
in 1990, and then they went on to Robin Hood, Taking Liberty, which is a 1993 movie, and then The Magnificent Seven, which was a TV series that didn't last long. 7 episodes, 1998. So these two were kind of birds of a feather with the screenwriting. It's kind of cool and odd that you see a director that hasn't done much, and also the writers. They haven't done much either. So
It sounds like, based on what you just, that group of movies, Robin Hood is their most successful.
it is, by far. Now we move on to the star of the film, Robin Hood himself, Kevin Costner.
Woohoo!
And now, I'm going to run down some of his movies. And a lot of Kevin Costner was...
He was, I would
Yep,
say
that's
he was
right.
untouchable.
Yeah, he
That
was in The
explains,
Untouchables as Elliot Ness.
Oh, really?
In 1987. He was in No Way Out, also in the same year. He was in Bull Durham as Crash Davis the very next year.
Yeah.
Field of Dreams
Yeah.
as Ray Kinsella.
I always cry at that movie.
Because you're like, this acting's so bad. Oh.
And then in the same year, 1989, he did The Gun Runner, which he's the star of. And I, Revenge, he played the part of Cochrane. That was in 1990. But what really, I think, propelled him to superstar status before Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves was Dances with Wolves.
Oh, yeah. I remember that movie quite clearly as a kid. My dad loved it, and I enjoyed it.
I love that movie.
I love Dances with Wolves.
That's probably a 3-hour movie or something.
Mhm.
But
You know,
I
it should
like
be
that
noted that you also see Kevin Costner's bare ass
Oh
in
my
Dances
gosh.
with Wolves.
Well, you don't actually see it in Robin Hood because it was a butt double. So.
It was a butt double.
Wow. Oh, I can't wait till we get to that part.
I will say
Indeed,
this. Okay,
indeed.
I know you need to get back to it, but Kevin Costner is one of my least favorite actors.
Oh.
I like some of the movies that he's in. I just think he has... well, there's getting some tension around the table. He just doesn't... He doesn't have like a powerful voice or something like that. I just don't think he's a very good actor. I like some of the movies he's in. I just don't think he's a very good actor.
I think those are fighting words.
Okay.
Kevin
All right.
Costner is
Stay
sort of...
tuned for the fist
There is
fight.
something about him that's a little bit meek.
Meek, yeah.
Understated. I'm not sure if he takes the it's almost like the easy understated. Like, he takes that route. Can we agree on that? No,
Yeah.
Trevor.
He's
Trevor,
better in some roles than others. Like, Dances with Wolves, he's probably good. Like, he doesn't have to talk much. He's talking to the Indians.
I'm a big
Tatanka.
I'm a big Kevin Costner fan, and he directed Dances with Wolves, and I believe he wrote it as well and starred in it.
So
he's
there,
just
Mark.
Amazing.
What an amazing man!
Yeah, I'm sure you have a
Give the
shrine
guy a
of him
break.
at home.
Give the guy a break. Anything after Dances with Wolves is just icing on the cake.
And
right?
speaking of anything after Dances with the Wolves, he also appeared in 1995's Waterworld.
Yes.
And
I've
then
never seen that movie.
a movie that is huge right now, and whether or not you like it or not, Batman vs. Superman, he stars in there. He does not star in there. It's a very bit role as Jonathan Kent.
Right?
So, yeah, he's still doing things, which is a testament. Great job, Kevin. Next we have,
Keep up the mediocre work, buddy.
Oh, he's great.
so appearing as Azim in the movie is Morgan Freeman, and I'll tell you what, he's been working...
A young Morgan Freeman.
It is a
50,
younger...
He's like 50-something. That's young as far as...
Yeah, he did
I'm
kind of
used to
take off
seeing
later on in his career, and he did have a very long career. What I have down here in '89 is one of his more feature roles. He was in Driving Miss Daisy as Hope Colburn. He appeared in a 1989 film called Glory, which is about the Civil War.
I remember that.
Mm-hmm. The Shawshank Redemption in 1994. He also appeared in Seven as Somerset. That was in 1995. That was a huge film with Brad Pitt.
I wish Kevin Costner had been in.
Shut up, Mark.
I think it might have made the movie a little better.
All right, so then he also appeared in Deep Impact, $1 Million Baby. That was a huge one for him as Eddie Scrap Iron Dupree. Batman Begins. He was in a lot of these Batman movies as Lucius Fox. Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. Video game tie. He was in Batman Begins, the video game, as the voice of course, Lucius Fox. So he was also there. One thing I also picked out is that he is a voice in Yo Gabba Gabba as the G-Clef.
What is that?
Yo Gabba,
G-Clef?
Yeah, the G-Clef. Yo Gabba Gabba is a children's show.
Mm-hmm.
It's a smart one. It was started by a member of the Aquabats.
Oh, I think I'm familiar with this. I have seen it.
Yeah,
so
I thought that was cool.
Like a G-Clef, kind of like
or
something like
I actually don't know, but that's how I'm picturing him.
I mean, the guy's a master of voiceovers.
We move on to Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, who played the role of Marion Dubois. She got her start actually in Scarface, 1983, as Gina Montana.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Then she went on to one of the movies that I think that she's more known for is The Abyss. She played one of the main characters, Lindsay Brigman.
When I was watching this movie, I was like, oh, what was she in? Oh, The Abyss.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I
that
remember
movie.
her from.
Yeah.
Mary Elizabeth Mastacholi.
Very tasty lady, I'll tell you what. Anyways, she went on to do some stuff with Law & Order, Criminal Intent, and a couple of TV series lately that she's been working on. Hostages, that lasted from 2013 to 2014. That was like 8 episodes. And Limitless, which is this year, that she worked on. So, not too much for her that is like... She mostly worked in TV, basically. But she does have her stints in movies.
She was okay. I mean, she's a pretty decent actress.
Yeah,
she's good.
I have no complaints at all about her. Christian Slater played Will Scarlet in the movie. Here's an actor that I don't really like at all.
You don't like Christian Slater? Okay.
He's just... I can't get
He's a
past
hot
his
shot.
wisecracking fucking Jack Nicholson copying fucking ass.
No, yeah.
I don't know.
He's
I
like
don't fucking like him personally.
I thought his hair was very authentic to the time period which they were portraying. What it was in like 1194 AD.
Definitely.
The way he had little
swoop
moosed up swoop right in the front there.
Yeah.
It
True.
was,
When I think of the 12th century, I just think of...
yeah, it was fantastic.
Definitely a lot of product in their hair.
No, I think that is something to take note, though, in this movie. And anytime you watch it from here on out, pay close attention to Christian Slater's hair.
Sage advice.
It's unbelievable. It's amazing.
I think when I was a kid, I remember loving that character. Or just, I don't know, I thought he was so cool. Probably Christian Slater was just cool. Like, in every movie he was in.
Christian Slater, I think one of his breakout movies was Heathers. He played JD in Heathers.
Yeah.
There you go.
I like
He went
that
on-
movie.
Cool dude.
Yeah, cool dude. He was in Gleaming the Cube, speaking of cool.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good movie.
And The Wizard, video game tie.
Yes.
The Wizard, he played Nick Woods.
He was older brother, right? He's
yes.
the older brother.
Yes, he
right?
was. In 1990's Pump Up the Volume, he was in Zoolander. Curb Your Enthusiasm, he starred as himself. In fact, there are a couple of shows where he starred as himself. The Office, he started as himself. He also appeared in Archer as just the name Slater. But also, he has done a lot of voiceover work. He was in Fern Gully, The Last Rainforest. He played voiced over a character named Pips. The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius. He played a character named Jet Fusion. And in Robot Chicken, I didn't know this about him. In Robot Chicken, he plays 3 different characters: the composite Santa Claus, Ted, and Frat Boy. So
he's gone from like on-screen acting to playing himself and doing voiceover.
Yeah, so he's a versatile actor. And I think I like him in his voiceovers better than I do his actual acting. He just rubs me the wrong way.
It's a personal preference.
It is a personal preference. And lastly, in the star-studded lineup that I have notes on is Alan Rickman. And this is a connection to the first episode here that Mark, you and I have done, Die Hard. He obviously played Hans Gruber in Die Hard and did a fucking great job in that.
Yeah.
He's been in every Harry Potter movie as Severus Snape, and he was perfect for it. You get a feeling... Alan Rickman, of course, played the Sheriff George of Nottingham, but you get a feeling that Alan Rickman was a stage actor, plucked out, just like handpicked to play some villains in movies. And he was just so good at it, you know?
Yeah, he was.
He's very good.
He's a great villain, and in this movie it proves that as well.
Indeed.
Yeah, I actually read that he turned it down 2 times before finally agreeing to play it when they were told he could basically have free range to do whatever he wanted. And it kind of shows. Like, there's some ad-lib lines, and
yes.
He actually
the
kind of
part about him canceling Christmas.
Yeah,
that was an ad-lib line.
Yeah, I actually also heard, which, this may not be true, but they cut some scenes because Kevin Costner felt he was being upstaged by Alan Rickman.
Yes!
So they cut some scenes.
I read that as well.
Yeah, so, I mean...
That's kind of crazy.
When you read about the awards for this, there's nothing about actors. There's nothing about cinematography. There's a little bit about the soundtrack. He did win some awards, mostly in England, for Best Actor, or Best Supporting Actor. So the only awards that ever came for this movie were for him, and he did a really good job.
I agree. Yeah, he is better than Kevin Costner in this movie. No doubt about it.
Big time. Sorry, Trevor.
You know, he might even have better hair than Christian Slater in this movie.
Oh, finally we get some props.
Yeah.
Breaking down the movie and the characters, we have an actual movie to get to here on Game of Movie. We're going to break down and dissect Julianne and fucking fry up this movie, man.
We're gratin, mash.
We're gonna mash up this movie. We're gonna fucking destroy this movie.
Slice and dice, smother and cover,
capped every Waffle House acronym or
That's
whatever.
Right.
We're just gonna do it all.
Salted and assaulted.
You name it, we're gonna fucking do it to this movie. Yes, we are going to hump this movie. We'll be back in a minute. Enjoy this dumb music. Woo! All right, everyone.
During the break time.
Getting down to the... we were raving a little bit, but getting down to the meat and potatoes, as they say, of the movie.
Back to potatoes.
Back to the fucking potatoes. Here we go. Loxley, he's imprisoned in Jerusalem along with his friend Peter Dubois.
It does give a date. Jerusalem, 1194
All right.
A.D.
Good. 1194 AD.
And this is during the Third Crusades, which if no one is familiar with the Crusades, it was basically the popes at the time trying to wipe out the Muslims and get Christians to fight a war to eliminate the Muslims to spread Christianity.
That's
so
huge.
It's kind of a bullshit At this point, you're like, fuck Robin. Fuck all these people. They're trying to wipe out other people. Like, okay. But as the second... I have a very brief understanding of the Crusades, but the second Crusades were considered not very successful, but the third Crusade was more successful, even though they never took Jerusalem, which was their main goal. So...
Wow, that's huge that you have that info, and it provides more backstory to actually what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So we see him imprisoned there with Peter Dubois, that's his friend, and also a Moor, as they call him, and that's Azim. Basically facing the amputation of his hand by the prison guards, but Robin says, no, I'm the one who stole the food. The guy's like, that's not true. And he's like,
this is the first instance where you see someone who doesn't have an accent of any kind. This whole movie is just like a melting pot of accents.
It's
Sometimes
true.
people have... This is probably the biggest criticism of this movie as well, is that the accents are just inconsistent. I mean, here you are in Jerusalem, and the guard is an American, and he says... cut off that infidel's hand. It's like completely no accent.
None of those guards look like they were from Jerusalem.
Definitely not.
All.
Yeah, like where is this prison?
But basically, what happens is he breaks out of it. He stages a daring escape.
That's a good move.
English courage.
Courage. That's right. What was somebody said this is Allah's courage, right?
He says something about use the courage of Allah. The guard says that, and then when they have Kevin Costner's hand over the anvil and they're about to cut it off, and he says, this is English courage.
Yes.
And he pulls the guard's hand over the anvil, and they chop the guard's hand off, and you get to see a severed hand.
Brilliant. I love it.
I think that's fantastic.
Great move.
As a 10-year-old in the movie theater in 1991, that was really cool to see guards chopping off prisoners' hands.
Hell yeah.
I thought it was fantastic.
Like, whoa, holy shit, that actually happened.
That was
Mom, did you see that? Yes, I saw that. So Robin, Peter, and Azim escape through the sewer, climb up into an alley, but Peter is shot by an archer. He's like, it's mortal.
This is not before they free Azim. He's a Moor. They don't want to free him. There's a
That's
little
right.
bit of like racism there, and you can tell that Robin's like, on the edge about freeing
Why should I
him.
free you? He says.
Why should I free you? He's like, well, I can show you the way out. So that's the only reason. I mean, he's there to fight the Moors.
Azim is tied up with rope, whereas all the other prisoners are tied up with chains. So
that's an interesting note. You would think that Azim would be chained from head to toe. Not just some rope.
It was just rope. Robin was unable to free the others when he used the sword because they had chains. Peter makes a statement. He does say that this is for 5 years in hell.
Yes.
So they have been there for 5 years, we can presume. They have long beards, long hair. So it was a terrible place to be for 5 years. They came out of a sewer, and I thought that was really weird. It had a sewer cap, and I don't know if that was a technology
in 1194
in ancient Jerusalem.
Yeah, did they have like sewer
like the
systems?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
I thought
just
that was
poking their heads up.
I want to talk about after Peter dies and hands off Marion's ring to Robin. Both Robin and Azim are hidden around the corner in an alley. Azim grabs a grapefruit, a really giant grapefruit, and cracks it open on his knee.
Is that a grapefruit?
I didn't know what it was.
I think it was a grapefruit. It looked like one.
Crack a grapefruit?
I thought it looked like a cantaloupe.
Or a coconut or something like that.
No, it wasn't a coconut. Coconuts are hairy.
Well, they're about to part ways, and Azim tells him that he has a life debt to him. Much like Chewbacca does to Han Solo. But just as that happens, Robin picks up 3 more, and he's running away with his arms full of grapefruit, and just before the scene ends, Azim grabs a chicken in a cage. It's a chicken in a cage, and he grabs and runs away with that, and I just thought that was crazy. What is he going to do with a chicken in a cage?
And also,
they're gonna eat it. They've been starved.
They're on the run from guards in the city.
It's true.
You don't need a caged chicken at that moment.
Especially the noise the chicken's gonna make.
Figure it out. Just go. Just run. Don't grab the chicken.
I thought that was a great tiny detail put in there.
Yeah, I did not notice that.
So yeah, he basically makes Robin swear to protect his sister Marion upon the ring transferring hands. Like, he makes him say that he will promise before they run off and do the grapefruit and chicken bit. After that, at Locksley Castle, Robin's father, who is still loyal to King Richard, who is away in France at this time, is lured out of his castle and killed by the sheriff's men after refusing to join them. He basically alone on his horse faces 15 to 20 people, and he dies valiantly, but he also fails to protect the castle.
It's like allusions to Ku Klux Klan here. So
Almost,
it's like
it's
kind
like
of
a lynching
striking for modern audiences.
All of them have white robes with hoods, and they all have torches. Yep. You're right. It's very KKK-esque. But I did write a note about this scene, and the only thing I wrote was, it seems really stupid that he would exit his castle to go meet up these guys, one guy versus 20.
It seems really stupid.
He lives in a castle! Just don't open the door!
No one looks out like a window? Like, there's a bunch of guys out there.
Yeah, he is told by his servants who actually apologized to him, like, I'm sorry, we had to. A lot of the code to arms at that time may have suggested that you are not honorable unless you actually do fight, even if you're outnumbered.
I think this is just the case of them having a script and they have to cover something very quick.
It's true.
In honesty, he would have, like, someone comes to his castle and he's like, my daughter was, like, assaulted or something like that. Send some of your knights out. The king doesn't deal with every little problem that everyone comes.
He lives in a castle.
Back to this.
Don't go outside. They want to kill you.
Well, he
you
probably
live
didn't
in a
figure
castle.
that was going to happen. I mean, he didn't know the sheriff was out for his blood. This was a surprise attack.
After this, Robin returns to England with Azim on a boat, and he comes down to the shore, he kisses the sand, he's rolling around in the water. Azim's like, you're a strange man. And in a weird little twist here, I don't get this really. There's a failed attempt to kill Azim by Robin's men.
To relieve him of his life debt.
Shit!
Robin Hood doesn't want him to be beholden to him for this life debt. It was only the second time where I realized it. Azim was hip to the fact that it was a ploy. Because he tried to get these boatmen to do it, but then Azim was too smooth for it. And he makes this weird line about downwind from a guy eating garlic. It's I don't even know what the hell he's talking about.
Thank you for addressing that, because that was actually kind of a funny moment.
The only reason it makes sense is as they're walking away, Kevin Costner says, I had to try, didn't I?
Yes, he does.
And that's the only reason this even makes sense.
I would like to say something, though, and I thought it was strange, and he's rolling around in the water and the sand with his clothes on. And he's got a lot of clothes. We should mention that he has many layers. He has seemingly every character in this film is wearing a quilt. Or some sort of a rag type assembled blanket or something like that, but he's rolling around in the water.
Yes.
Now, it doesn't look very warm there at that time, and so am I to believe that he frequently rolls around in water and gets wet and cold?
Think about this, Trevor. He's been in prison for 5 years, and this is the first time that he's ever seen his homeland. So I think it's believable. I think it's foolish, but I think it's believable.
I don't think his acting is believable. He's rolling around. He's like, oh, it's so bad. Because just roll around. I don't know. Enjoy it. But
I just wanted to point out that is our first experience with a wet Kevin Costner, and it happens a few more times.
Indeed, it does. I thought it was a little weird. They talked about they passed by a mistletoe tree, and Robin says, I've charmed many ladies with the help of this little plant here. And Azim says, back in my land, we don't need to drug our women to have them fall in love with us. And I thought that was awesome! That is so cool!
Yeah. That whole scene seems really unnecessary. And then I was watching today, and I'm like, well, this is just kind of cement their friendship a little bit, build the characters and their relationship.
Right.
It's a very long scene. This whole movie is way longer than it needs to be.
I'm
just going to keep going back to Kevin Costner's acting. But
that mistletoe scene, I think all those lines are terrible. I think that is a prime example right there of Kevin Costner's bad acting in this movie, is that mistletoe line. It doesn't make sense. It seems out of place.
and his accent is all over the place.
He doesn't really have one.
No, certain words he puts an English accent on, and then certain
I
other
heard
words.
he had a vocal coach, a coach to teach him to speak an English accent, but then it wasn't working out, and they didn't like it, so that guy was fired, and then they told him just not to have the accent at all. Which I don't even know if this was just star power, but then some of his merry men have a British accent. It's crazy.
My theory, and you know that movies get filmed out of order all the time. It's dependent on the scene, right? Well, this whole thing was happening in the UK. Most of what was filmed was in the UK, some of it in France. But there was not any other locations other than Europe. And I believe, over the course of time, he did pick up on an accent, a genuine
Just
one.
a natural
and it comes in and out of his inflections and his talking. And I believe that's actually what happened. And sometimes you'll hear him say something and you're like, boy, go back to acting school. But then other times you actually believe what he's saying. And it's true.
I like that, actually. I like that theory.
So after this, Azim
starts praying. He
asks where East is.
Yeah.
To pray to Allah.
Towards Mecca.
Oh, yeah, not towards Allah, towards Mecca. What the fuck am I saying?
Oh, you guys are screwing that all up.
Thanks, Trevor.
Hopefully no Muslims are listening to this podcast.
So Robin, basically what happens is Robin starts defending the boy Wolf. We see Wolf for the first time here. And he's running from Guy of Gisborne. We see Guy of Gisborne for the first time as well, along with 6 men on horses, and they're just chasing this little boy.
The footage proves that Wolf is the fastest boy alive.
How long were they running? These horses couldn't.
He is being chased by horses. They have a whole pack of wolfhounds or some sort of very large dogs. And he can outrun dogs, horses.
There's even a scene with him stumbling and then getting back up to his feet. You're right, this boy is fast.
Yeah.
And he gets up that tree real fast, too.
Yeah, that tree, there's no way you climb that tree. I could tell there's a ladder behind that goddamn shit.
But let's talk about Guy of Gisborne.
Okay, let's talk about him.
Gisborne has an earring in his left ear, which was very popular in 1991. And once again, I have to ask, 1194 AD, do we have earrings and slicked back 80s hair? It's crazy because this movie does deal with fashion and hairstyles of the time period of 1991, but it puts it in a very good point. In a historical drama like this. And I think at the time, in 1991, when you saw it, you didn't notice things like that because everyone looks like that, but it doesn't hold the test of time, and it really sticks out like a sore thumb now when you watch it.
So why they're chasing Wolf is he killed a deer because his family is starving. Robin Hood comes down and says, "What kind of demon are you chasing where it takes 6 of you?"
Which is a good point.
Yeah, and it's a young boy. Surely you need 6 people to defend yourself from a young boy. And Guy says, "This is no concern of yours. You should leave right now."
But Robin still thinks this is his land, too.
You saw how fast this kid is.
He's like a modern-day an olden-day Flash.
Obviously, they needed more than 6 guys and a dozen hounds to catch this
tree.
kid. So Robin's question was, a good question because they obviously needed another 2 dozen guys.
I thought it was hilarious when
down.
the guy's going to chop the tree down with an axe.
Oh, yeah,
If you've ever tried
hell?
to cut a tree down with an axe, that'll take a day. That tree was humongous, and the guy's got an axe. Alright, let's just wait 5 hours to cut this thing down. Luckily, Robin stops him before he takes his first,
Why don't they just shoot the kid out of the tree?
I know, if they have a crossbow, which I think they do, they could have easily just shot the kid out of the tree.
They do end up rescuing Wolf, and Guy of Gisborne and Robin Hood have a confrontation with each other.
Yes,
they're holding swords to each other's throats, and
Robin spares his life.
Robin
he said, "I've seen enough bloodshed."
Life.
He lets Gisborne go.
Those hounds are completely useless because
he says, "Release the hounds," and then they do nothing. They don't go anywhere. Release the hounds.
At this point in the
just
scene,
let them walk around. They're just sniffing poop, sniffing each other's butts.
Ron takes a hot steamer.
Yeah.
Robin should be fighting off dogs right now. Not, they just ran away.
Guy then returns to Sheriff George of Nottingham and says, "I've been bested by this guy."
Meanwhile,
Loxley.
Sheriff of Nottingham's making it with a horse?
What is he doing?
Oh yeah, he tells her who told you to unrobe?
Who told you to cover up?
Yeah, cover up.
Covered up one shoulder or something.
So after this, Robin returns to England to find his home is in ruins and his father is dead. The lone survivor is Duncan, one of his father's men, now robbed of his eyes. They took his fucking eyes out.
Robin shrieks like he's such a baby when he sees his dad. He
well,
puts
Jesus,
his head.
yeah, of course, his dad is
I just
dead.
thought his reaction was terrible. He turns and puts his head on Azim's shoulder. Oh no!
God, you got it.
I just got it. I really. Kevin Costner. This was not his
not
role.
in a good way.
This is not bad. Oh, actually, I did have a note. Okay, have you seen Robin Hood Men in Tights?
Yes.
I'm assuming you all have.
Yes.
I have, but it's been a long time.
Carrie Elwes was the main character of Robin in that movie, Mel Brooks.
Yes.
Men in Tights.
Yes.
He was offered this role.
I know.
But he turned it down because he said it was too contrived. And I just think that guy made probably a good move. But
Duncan reveals that Guy of Gisborne did all of this with the Sheriff of Nottingham.
And the witch.
And the witch, Mortiana, upon the charges that his father worshipped the devil. This is like the huge plot point right here.
Yeah.
Is that your father worshipped the devil, therefore we get to kill him and burn his kingdom down.
Robin Hood makes a blood oath over his father's grave.
Yes.
And he seems to cut his hand really deep.
It's true.
I don't know what the medicine was like then, but that could get infected.
I think that's a likely infection.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's using his hands all the time.
I think that'll take you out of commission.
Yeah.
I think that was a stupid move on his part.
I mean, a blood oath's a blood oath, but you really have to cut yourself that deep.
He winced real hard.
So not only does he make his blood oath, but he finds his father's necklace and dons it.
Mm-hmm.
This becomes a fixture throughout the rest of the movie. The Sheriff of Nottingham visits the witch Mortiana. We get to see the witch for the first time here. And it's such a spooky, smoke-filled dungeon in this castle.
And I'll tell you, when I was a kid, I was pretty scared of the witch, but now it just kind of seems like over the top.
Mortiana foretells Robin Hood's coming, and the Painted Man, who is Azim, and they all call him the Painted Man
Because he's black?
Yep.
I just wondered if that was because he has, the dots on his cheeks.
No.
I mean,
No.
So she foretells the Painted Man and their deaths, meaning Mortiana and the Sheriff of Nottingham's deaths, and then clings to the sheriff and says, kill them both. Meanwhile, Robin takes Azim and the blinded Duncan to Peter's castle. You see him go up to the gate and knock, and asks for Marion. After a little bit of back and forth, Robin is let in without his weapons, but only Robin. He meets Marion for the first time. First of all, it is her, woman at arms, acting like she is Marion. Mm-hmm. But Marion tries a sneak attack. They both battle. It is revealed after he holds her hand to flame that she is actually Marion.
In the fight, Robin has to jump up onto a table while he's sword fighting with her. And we're going to mention that later on in Robin Hood the Game. Just keep that in mind. That happened. That happened.
That did happen. After telling Marion of Peter's demise, and while fleeing the sheriff's forces afterwards, because the forest is haunted, they actually escape on some horses.
There's a point where they stop and regroup with the two horses right before they enter the woods. And Azim says, my horse is carrying two, meaning him and Duncan.
Yes.
Your horse is lame.
Got him!
Well, his horse was shot by an arrow.
But to make things worse, Robin reaches down to the horse's rump area where the arrow is buried deep in this horse, and he snaps it off. What an asshole. How are they ever going to get the rest of that arrow out when he snapped it off? I think he basically signed that horse's death certificate when he snapped that arrow off.
After this, Robin and Azim encounter a band of outlaws hiding in Sherwood Forest, led by John Little. Among the band is Will Scarlet. Robin and John then have a battle with bow staves, and they best one another until Robin dumps John in the river, and John reveals that he can't swim.
Yeah, that's pretty silly.
Yeah, and he tells John, stand up. And you see John stand up, and the water doesn't even come to his crotch area.
Hilarious.
Hilarity ensues.
I think that's realistic.
Robin Hood says, well, maybe we should call you Little John instead.
Yeah.
And they bond together, though. Little John has respect for
He
Peter.
has so much respect that
Robin.
He utters one of the best lines of the whole movie. He pats Robin Hood on the shoulder and he says, you got balls of solid rock.
When you say a man has big balls, I think that's one of the best compliments.
He didn't. No. He didn't say his balls were big. He just said they were solid. Yeah. So I think This is a great example when they're hanging out around a fire in the woods.
Yeah, they're kind of celebrating.
And it seems like they celebrate probably every night.
Yeah.
To me, it seems like the Merry Men are basically a bunch of drunk guys who are camping.
Yeah.
They're making dick jokes around the fire. There's a man named Bull who's introduced.
Yes.
That's it.
And he offers to take out his
he starts
dick.
actually pulling it out.
He's
like,
gonna take his dick
I don't
out,
need to see that.
And all the guys are cool with it,
Yeah.
except Robin. He says, no, save it for the ladies.
Save it for the ladies. So after this, there is a mass in town addressing the Sheriff of Nottingham, and the Bishop of Hereford blesses his ongoing effort. Now, unbeknownst to everyone, Robin sneaks in, disguised as a blind man, and has a talk with Marion, who's shocked to see him there. Then Robin sneaks up and sees the Bishop of Hereford as well. They both have a talk about his father. Robin figures out pretty quickly that he's lying and goes to leave. Gets discovered by the Sheriff of Nottingham, and he cuts the Sheriff of Nottingham's cheek. Escapes out of the bell tower onto the Sheriff of Nottingham's personal horse and escapes the town.
He is stealing bags of food from which I would assume are vendors or some sort of people who are just trying to make a living. He didn't steal it from the sheriff. He's stealing... Yeah, what an asshole.
Yeah,
So, upon all of this, the sheriff then offers a price for Robin's head. This starts out at 500 gold. So, Guy of Gisborne goes and burns down a town in search of Little John and Robin Hood.
Just stabbing people,
Yeah,
villagers
just
are being
Like, the
assholes.
thatch roof cottages are being burned. Trapdoor!
One of the best parts of the movie is during this scene, as they're causing chaos in the town, in the village, they tear down a giant birdhouse. Did you see that part? It's on a pole, a giant birdhouse, and they hook it, they put rope to it and tie that to a
Fucking
horse, and they tear down the birdhouse.
Fucking assholes.
Yeah.
Basically, all those people then flee. They flee to Sherwood Forest, the hideout.
Yes.
Robin ultimately assumes command of the group after Will Scarlet reveals his doubts and goes as far as to actually try and harm Robin Hood.
This is one of the worst speeches, a call to arms, like the worst call to arms speech I've ever heard.
I didn't like it that much.
He
Well,
has
why do
no
you dislike
conviction.
it?
I mean, of all the times that Kevin Costner's acting is terrible, this speech, like, he has no conviction in his voice. He just has this mild form of speech. If there's any point in the movie where you need a very deep voice, a very commanding voice to try to garner support, I think he just is terrible in this scene.
What do we need that the forest cannot provide?
Yeah, but we're starving.
He kind of does have a milquetoast way about it. It's very matter of fact. I didn't have as much of a problem as maybe you
it's
did,
my bias, but
it might be your bias.
This is also the part where Will Scarlet gets an arrow through the hand.
That's right, and that's because young Wolf actually says, "Look out, Robin!" And he turns around, grabs an arrow out of his quiver, and shoots the arrow.
That's one of his first instances where you see his dead shot
Yeah,
aim
his
as well,
archery
too.
skills.
Yeah.
He is unmatched.
Which, as a kid, that's the coolest thing to me about Robin Hood. I don't know, I've always liked bow and arrows.
Oh, yeah.
But, Robin Hood as an excellent archer is really cool.
That was a very cool part in 1991
Oh,
to
yeah.
a kid sitting in the theater, to see someone get shot through the hand with an arrow.
Yeah.
Shot through the hand, and you're too late to defend yourself. He walks up this big tree branch and addresses everyone that's there. He encourages his men to fight against Nottingham.
Yeah, it's like, come on, let's do this,
Come
guys.
on,
Can we,
guys.
do this? There's
Please.
please?
Otherwise, we won't win.
And
so
capture
then
the spirit.
Then he ultimately starts training them, with the help of Azim. Starts showing them techniques, and we're treated to this montage.
Yes,
Montage.
a training montage.
Where everyone gets better by the end of the 3 minutes, or
It's
whatever.
fantastic.
It is actually, it conveys time passing.
And they're building their Ewok.
Yeah,
forest,
we
or
can
their
call this
town.
an Ewok forest because
Yeah.
you see people also building, the places where they're going to live, their houses and things up in the trees. You see a ladder spring up into the air so they can cross from tree to tree, and also there's dwellings up in the trees too where they keep the gold and the spoils of war, basically.
I also remember this part of the movie, the training montage ends with Robin shooting an arrow. And the camera angle is like
top
arrow
of it.
vision,
Yeah.
right?
POV.
The point of view of the arrow as it flies through, the forest
Cutting
and hits
edge
the
in
target.
91.
It was awesome in
It was
1991, and if I remember right, it was kind of a selling point shot of the film. It was
Yes.
it
Oh, it
was
totally
in all
was.
the trailers. It was probably in
That and the flaming arrow later
Taco
on.
Bell
The
commercials.
Flaming Air Leo on, yeah, I heard that it was shot in 300 frames
per
per
second.
second.
Yeah, I
actually.
read that
that's
back
a
too.
fantastic
That's
looking
huge.
shot.
The film itself is shot in 24 frames a second. That gives you an idea of how much they really valued that
That's a
shot.
cool shot.
They start robbing rich passengers and carriages, soldiers and convoys that pass through the forest. Then they distribute the stolen wealth among the poor that are living there. Sheriff of Nottingham hears about this and increases the bounty on Robin Hood's head. One of their early targets is Friar Tuck. This is our first encounter with Mr. Friar Tuck, whom I love. I think might be my favorite character. It's up there with the Sheriff of Nottingham. He actually ends up joining the Merry Men. So Gisborne returns, because he was a part of this convoy that held Friar Tuck. He returns again to the Sheriff of Nottingham with the news that his men were killed, the friar was taken, along with the gold. Sheriff of Nottingham stabs him dead in front of all of the metallurgic workers. And after he stabs him, he says,
"This is good steel."
"Yeah, this is good steel."
And he walks away and leaves him laying on the ground.
And everyone's just kind of jaws agape.
It's his cousin, right?
Oh my God, yes.
No one's helping him. He's just laying on the ground, rolling around, bleeding to death.
So, Maid Marian actually also begins to sympathize with the band. She renders Robin any aid that she can muster. She goes and visits him with her, I forget her name, but it's her woman at arms, basically.
Rebecca.
Rebecca? I'll go with that.
Yeah,
I think it's Rebecca.
In this time, Robin's successes start really infuriating the Sheriff of Nottingham. He theretofore increases the mistreatment of all the people, and this results in greater local support for Robin Hood. And he's notified of that too.
He's taking from the rich and he's giving to the poor.
So everyone loves him. And there's a point in the movie where he's telling his scribe, increase the bounty, do anything that you can, and the scribe's like, sir, it won't matter.
It won't matter.
I
Because
like that
everyone-
scribe. He's just
They
like
love
a
him.
wormy kind of character.
That's another good casting choice, isn't it?
Yeah, he was good.
I like that guy.
So Maid Marian comes to Sherwood Forest. She sees Robin Hood from up on a cliff, and he is swimming down below. And
Yes.
he is butt naked
Yeah.
again. It's gratuitous. There's
It's
multiple
gratuitous.
shots.
How she's staring, gawking at him,
She
she's
is
never
gawking.
seen a pale ass.
Yeah, and
before.
Rebecca's like, cover your eyes.
multiple butt shots.
Yeah.
And
And it's a butt double,
And
right?
it is a butt double.
this is also our third example of a wet Kevin Costner.
Ah, yes, wet Kevin Costner. What's up, ladies in your 30s to 50s? All right,
You got
let me
anything
start
about
over.
Well, there's also, because Marion is now hanging out in
Sherwood Forest.
and Robin is kind of showing off his new friends and what he's got going on. There's even kind of an arrow shooting competition. Wolf is
that's
shooting.
true, yes.
That's right.
Yeah, Wolf is shooting an arrow. He misses because Robin, dickhead move, takes his bow behind Wolf's ear and flicks it.
Yeah, he tickles him in the ear and he fucks up his shot.
And Wolf misses, and now it's Robin's turn to really show everyone what's up. And he's gonna take aim, and Marion comes up to his ear and blows his ear, right?
Yeah, she blows on it.
So she's blowing
And he
Robin.
misses even
Phrasing,
worse.
by the way,
Right.
phrasing. But
Right. So Marion is blowing Robin, and he completely...
That's later in the movie. I
also
think.
phrasing.
Right. He completely misses the target. And it's hilarious to everyone around,
But it almost kills
it
the guy.
almost kills that guy. I felt bad for that guy.
It's like a guy hanging out in the back.
It's
Yeah.
pouring grain
yeah.
into a bucket.
There's
oh!
some guy working, and he comes within inches of his life being taken from Robin being an asshole. Another example of Robin being an asshole.
Is that part of where the song comes from? The Bryan Adams song?
No,
Or is
that's
that
when she departs.
No,
Actually,
yeah.
that's when you really hear the undertones of the orchestral movement of the original writer of that song. You know, Bryan Adams did not write this song. It was the original composer that wrote the song.
No shit.
Yes.
Before that part, though, Robin is up in his treehouse, the Ewok village. Marion gives him the golden dagger that was given to her by the sheriff earlier.
Ah, that is a key point. Thank you for bringing that up.
It was given to her for protection by the sheriff.
Yes.
She doesn't want it anymore, and she gives it to Robin. And there's a great moment in the film where Robin picks it up, because they're about to exit the tree fort, and shoves it down the front of his pants. Just like with no regard. Like it's a needle-sharp dagger, and he just shoves it down the waistband of his pants, and I thought that was real strange.
Cut my dick off. I don't give a fuck anymore.
And then later, there's like a party going on, right?
Raucous party.
Yeah, there's like, it's at night,
yes,
there's like a party going on, and seemingly in the middle of the party, Little John's wife, Fanny, goes into labor. She's gonna have a baby. And Friar Tuck doesn't know what the fuck to do, right? His Christian ways...
He's just hammered.
His Christian ways of, like, birthing a baby, yeah, he doesn't know how. But it's Azim who is then tapped on the shoulder and asked to give help birthing the baby. Robin says, have you done this before? Has this worked? And he says, only on horses. But what I have to...
I love it.
So what I have to wonder is, what procedure is he doing?
He does ask for thread and water.
Right. And he has a knife with him. So this movie, we are
Only
witnessing...
more graphic.
Azim is inventing the C-section,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, pretty much.
It's only been done on horses before at this point, and this is the first human being to have a successful C-section.
You've heard it here first. Game and Movie Podcast, Episode 4.
The first cesarean section.
Azim, you're a good man.
Thank you, Azim.
Earlier in the movie, he says his name means great one.
In fact, right in that scene, Robin Hood hits him on the shoulder and says, you truly are a great one.
Damn, you're right.
Now everyone's having a big party, right? There's a band that starts playing.
Yeah, and they're all dancing with hands joined in a circle.
Dancing. There's like a conga line going on.
Yeah.
Like Marion's having
It's not
a great time.
conga line. People are dancing in a circle with hands joined.
Okay, but
The conga line's way different.
But Will Scarlet, out of nowhere, out of the darkness, Will Scarlet comes up and asks Marion to dance with him, right? And he presents a rose. Aww. Where the fuck did he get a rose from? Who has fresh roses there? That
The forest will provide, you know?
It's true. It's true.
But Will Scarlet gets denied. He asks just for a
Cock
simple
block
dance.
even.
Total cock block. Here comes Robin Hood, and he says, this lady is spoken for. And he just whisks her away. And we have to assume that they fuck, I guess, right? Because this is the part in the movie where the theme... Everything I do it for you, by Bryan Adams, comes in.
Uh-huh. But yeah, that actually leads into when he leads both of them out, her and Rebecca, onto the boat in the water, mist covering it, and like she kisses him goodbye when he actually says to her, like, you need to deliver a message. It's very dangerous that you do so, but you should deliver this message. And she said, I won't do it, but I'll do it for you.
Oh.
And that's where it comes in.
Yeah, I do have a note here. It says, everything I do it for you. In the movie, in the music, and in the dialogue.
Oh, yeah. I got something. Hold on.
Yeah! Everything you do, you're doing it for us.
Did it for us.
Tension breaker had to be done.
They're leaving on a boat? They arrived on horseback.
Well, no, okay, they do explain that. She asks him why they're leaving in this manner, and he says, so you don't know how you got here, and if anyone needs to torture it out of you, you still don't know.
Let's just talk about this song for a second.
Okay, let's talk about this song.
This song was huge back in 1991. I'm sure anyone who was born in the 80s can attest. It was at roller rinks. One of our friends said it was at their mom and stepdad's wedding. It was the song that was the theme of their wedding. It was huge. It was humongous. And I love songs with parentheses in them. I don't know. I think it's just hilarious every time. Everything I do, parentheses, I do it for you. Is that necessary?
Yeah. No, it is.
Yes, it is.
In the name of love, it certainly is.
I have a childhood memory, actually, of waiting patiently by the VCR, by the record buttons.
Patiently.
So that I could... Well, that's how you did it back then, you know?
Nice adjective.
And so I
There was no
recorded
YouTube.
this music video for this song, because it actually has Bryan Adams and his band, but they're performing, like, seemingly in the Ewok village, and there's clips from the movie in it. And so as a kid, I really wanted to see those clips from the movie, and so...
And rewatch them and like enjoy them.
Sure.
Yeah. Because,
So-
you couldn't just look something up. Like, this is your last chance to see
Yep.
him.
10-year-old Trevor was
He's on his game.
videotaping, bootleg taping Bryan Adams.
It's not a bad song.
Oh.
It's a love song,
Yeah, I
through,
mean,
through and through, and it conveys the message. So Mortiana takes, like, blood from herself by striking her forearm, and she drips it into this pan and then spits into it, and you hear the sizzle. Then she takes her extra long nail and scratches it out, and
that's
she's
so
like, you
Yeah.
need to yoke the power of the Celts. Although the Sheriff of Nottingham is disgusted by the Celts, he is ultimately amazed by the brilliance of the idea. Marion writes this letter to whomever that they need help from, and gives it to the Bishop of Hereford. And the bishop says, I have my best scout on this. Hands it to the scout, and she says, well, my lady-at-arms Rebecca is going to come with. It turns out that he's an evil motherfucker. Tells his scout to just basically dispose of Rebecca. You see them both in the very next scene, riding horses, and his horse comes to a slow. She's like, what's the problem now? And he's like, my horse is favoring his front leg here. When they both stop to a crawl, and she leans down to, like, take a look at the horse's leg, and he just clubs her. She's out like a light, and goes back to the castle to show the letter to the Sheriff of Nottingham, who now knows what the fuck is up. So then he takes Marion forcefully in her chamber back to his castle. During this whole confusion that happens when he takes Marion from the castle, Duncan escapes on a horse, blinded. He gets on a horse and just says, I need your eyes tonight, old friend, and travels
good
throughout
line.
the entire night into the next day. And the horse finally discovers Sherwood Forest and delivers the news. But what happened, and you can see this within the montage here, is right before Duncan leaves, there are shadows placed upon a wall of 3 figures. And one points, and then one follows.
Good
so they are
detail.
following blind Duncan right into
Leads him right to Sherwood
He's leading
Forest
him
and the
right
Merry
there.
Men.
That's right.
Not
In
so
fact-
merry anymore in
Will-
a second.
Will Scarlet even says something like, he led him right to
But really,
us.
it was the horse. I mean, Duncan had, he had
Yeah.
no idea where he was.
So the sheriff manages to locate the outlaw's hideout by following the blind Duncan and launches an attack with the Celts, destroying the forest refuge.
There's
That
some-
is one of the best scenes.
It
Most
is.
exciting.
This battle
it is
scene
an
was
awesome
crazy.
Good
scene.
scene.
Yeah. And the Merry Men have a system for warning each other that something is going to happen. It's by, like, shooting a warning arrow.
Oh, yeah. Which is
And-
cool. Which is pretty cool.
Pretty cool, but once again, a dangerous system, because there's a part where Robin and the group are comforting Duncan. No, it's Duncan. Duncan's arrived. And suddenly a bunch of arrows fly in the middle of the group, hitting barely, just next to their feet. And that's the warning arrows that the Celts have shown up. But holy shit, just, a couple inches to the right or the left, and they hit Robin in the face.
Can we figure
or
something out? Can you blow a horn or something? Do we have to shoot arrows at each other?
2 things. First of all, I think it's a great system. If they didn't yell right afterwards,
Right. What's
which
the point?
each time they do, okay?
Hey, I just shot that arrow at you. Did you see that?
Duncan's here, and then the second time, they shoot 3, and then they're like, over the hill! Like, okay,
Just
the
yell.
reason why you're shooting the arrows is to confine your volume, right? So yeah, we are presented with basically, I think, the best all-out action scene. The Celts come in, the first wave comes down, and the Merry Men defeat them, but then they don't see the second wave. Flaming catapults driving fire into Sherwood
yeah.
Forest.
Yeah.
All of the archers, there's a huge line of archers over the hill, and all of them have flaming arrows, and they are just burning this motherfucker down.
That was awesome.
That was awesome.
There was a lot of great camera shots of the catapults with the flaming balls. You'd see the point of view of the
What do
ball
you think
coming
those
right
balls
at you.
are? I mean,
Those are just
I was always wondering, they're just big rocks
those are
covered
just,
in
you know,
gasoline or something? I don't know. Because they're big
It's a good
balls
question.
and they're like flaming. I don't
big,
really...
solid flaming balls.
I just want...
I'm going to make a techno remix out of what you just said.
That's right. Big, solid.
Big, solid, flaming balls. Big, solid, flaming balls. Big,
right.
solid, flaming balls.
But we also get to see the Celts, and the Celts have a different kind of fighting style.
Oh, they're aggressive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So much so that, in fact, there's even a point where one of them just stops fighting and starts raping.
Freestyle. They're just...
No, I mean it's disturbing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like
I gotta laugh about it, but it's only the way that you presented it.
But it is interesting that, like that. I don't know. I thought that was a moment that they chose to film that. Like let's.
So they're like,
film
are we killing them? Are we raping
they-
them? I don't know.
they
They
can't
didn't
make
really
up-
tell us the whole
They
lot.
really can't make up their mind.
Yeah.
And there's also now that everything's on fire, right? Because there's flaming arrows, flaming catapults. Now the trees are on fire. Everyone's fleeing. As people are fleeing, Robin is, and tell me if you guys noticed this or thought this was weird, but Robin is taking all of the gold coins and dumping them over the side onto people's heads as
It's a
they
good
run.
diversion tactic. I don't think it was
Yeah, I
weird.
guess
So
so. The
people
Celts
are-
are paid
especially
to
the
fight.
Celts, yeah.
Well, I was confused. Was he dumping them so the Celts would take them and be distracted? Was
Yes,
he...
because at this point, he knew they were defeated.
Okay.
Like, you see smoke all around. This fucking village is burning up. And you know that your riches that you have confiscated from the caravans that came through, it's useless. Why not use it as a diversion tactic and get like 10 to 12 of these Celts to gather around and try and pick up these gold pieces? That way they're easy targets. So, I mean, he's thinking with his head here. This treasure is now trash. So now we're done with the battle. Basically, in order to consolidate his claim to the throne, the sheriff proposes to Marion, claiming...
He, threatens her into marrying.
Basically,
him or
yeah.
something.
Claiming
He's
that
gonna
if she
kill these
accepts-
children unless she marries him.
Right, yeah, there's that scene where he says he will kill the children.
It's a good move if you want to marry someone.
He's a
in
dick.
hurry.
It also reinforces the fact that he's a fucking dick. So he claims that if she accepts, he will spare the lives of the captured outlaws. So yeah, they did capture a lot of people from this fight. And they have them holed up in the castle now, and they're projected to be hung.
There are
Including the young boy, Wolf.
Also, Will Scarlet is among the group that has been captured.
Truth.
So we have those two main characters, Will Scarlet and Wolf, captured.
He makes a deal with the sheriff, though, to find and kill Robin in order to be set free.
Did you guys like that shot? There was a great fisheye lens shot.
Yes! Yes, I did!
It was of Will Scarlet's perspective, hanging upside down, looking at the sheriff.
Mhm.
And the sheriff does this great head tilt where he almost tilts his head all the way around to match that of Will Scarlet's head upside down.
Right, yeah.
I thought that was fantastic.
that-
Will Scarlet is hanging from the
What you
ceiling.
can say about this movie, I mean, maybe it's not the greatest movie ever, but there were some interesting shots. The directing is fine. I mean, I think it's
Yeah, there
fine.
were
They
some-
do a lot of close-ups of people's faces, and I
Yeah.
thought it was interesting.
We're taken back to Will, and he meets back up with Robin and some of his, most trusted aides, like the Friar is there, Azim is there. They're all burying people that died during this assault.
Little John
Of the
and
Celts.
Fanny are both there.
Instead of attacking him, he informs them of the sheriff's plans to marry Marion and execute Robin's men. And Will, he just continues to be a dick to Robin, basically. And Robin's like, what have I done to you in a previous life? Have I done something to you? And finally, in one of the twists of the movie, Will says, I'm your brother.
Half brother.
Yeah, I'm your half brother, and everything. I have more reason to hate you than anyone on this earth.
Yeah.
So, and that's huge. But instead of it escalating, Robin Hood takes joy in the fact that I have a brother, and he hugs him.
Yeah.
It's kind of a
Why
touching
does
moment.
he hate him so much? Because he abandoned his family? Is that what it
Well,
is?
because Robin grew up as a rich kid. And
Oh,
Will
and he was
Scarlet
like a
didn't.
bastard. He was a bastard. Like
I thought this moment too. I mean, and it's total bro drama moment, but both Kevin Costner and Christian Slater seem to be trying to like outact each other almost. And it gets to be really extreme to the point where they're embracing each other, they're touching each other's face. They get in real close. I mean, there's a near almost makeout scene here. You know, like, dude, I'm your brother. Like, oh, let's get real close.
But I think the real reason, Will's mother was a peasant woman, and Robin's father, both their father, took comfort in Robin's
Fucking
mother.
peasants.
Yeah, basically, because his father left the peasant woman, he grew up fatherless, and that's why he's mad at him. So, anyways, yeah.
I have one note here that Johnny Depp actually was offered the role as
Oh,
Will
shit.
Scarlet and
Wow,
turned it down.
would
And
you look at that?
I think he would have been
better.
good.
It would have been much better.
I think that Christian Slater did a
Yeah.
fine job.
But
All
would
right,
Johnny...
I'm alone on this one.
Johnny Depp would have been just the same.
Do you think Johnny's hair would have been better?
That's the real question.
Now, let's keep in mind here, the actors have almost zero input on what their hair looks like. This is all up to the director.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, like, they you know, they get put into makeup and their hair gets sculpted. The way
I'm not
it's
making
sculpted.
fun of the hair. Believe me, I love the hair in this movie.
Don't get me wrong.
That's one of the reasons I love this movie.
All right, on the day of the wedding and the hangings, Robin and his men infiltrate Nottingham Castle.
Did you notice that they make a plan first in Sherwood Forest
Yes, they do.
About infiltrating the castle? And Robin has constructed a scale model of the castle out of sticks.
Looks
and
like a fire
stones.
pit, yeah.
It's really crazy when you look closely at it because it has a lot of detail in it. And something like that out in the woods would take you days to build. I thought that was hilarious. Like,
That is
Robin was
hilarious.
taking time to build models to
Yeah.
show everyone how it worked.
And Fanny. Fanny actually says, I want to be a part of this. And at the time, Little John's like, you should be tending to our 7 children. But no, she wants to get in there. It's ultimately Robin Hood's
she
decision.
helps later. She doesn't do shit like
Yes, she does. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and I don't think
Okay.
I don't know.
What the fuck? Are we watching the same movie?
I don't know if we ever mentioned it either. But Wolf is Little John's son.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Little John and
Fanny.
Fanny.
She's invested in
Wolf
it. She
is
wants
their
to
son.
see that he is
Yeah.
safe.
Okay, so Robin and his men infiltrate Nottingham Castle.
No blades, no bows. Leave your weapons outside.
That's a great line. I
No
love
blades,
that.
no bows.
Leave your weapons outside. Okay, so before this, another thing that we should touch upon is Azim is toying with what is actually gunpowder. They don't know what to call it. They call it black powder.
Yeah.
This explosive thing that is part of their plan. Okay? And this is packed up into, what?
Barrels that are disguised as wine barrels for the sheriff's wedding celebration.
Yes.
And Friar Tuck himself is driving the cart full
Mm-hmm.
of the wine barrels, and Azim is in disguise as a leper. He is wrapped
Yes,
all
that's
in
right.
bandages, because apparently, the painted man would not fly
Oh, definitely not.
there at the
his
hanging.
face is all covered up.
Right,
too.
so he's completely covered up. No one knows it's him. There's a great part, too, I think, when we're showing all the characters in disguise infiltrating the castle. Robin is doing his whole, I'm wearing a cloak disguise, as a blind man, again, but there's a moment in the movie where Robin bends down and he grabs a big handful of fresh, steaming shit,
Yes.
and he just starts rubbing it on himself.
Get those horse apples on you,
I
brother.
thought that was great. I was like, look at this. Like Kevin Costner rubbing shit
And that's
all
how he
over
gets
himself,
past the
you know?
guard at some point.
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah.
earlier in the movie, there's a part where Maid Marian says, like, Robin, do me a favor, take a bath.
Take a bath.
And they actually had filmed that scene and wanted to put that earlier so she could say that and have that line make more sense.
Yeah.
But then, like, they actually ended moving that later, so that line kind of doesn't make sense, but it still
well, it
works.
doesn't make sense for the amount of time that he spends being soaking wet. You know,
Yeah.
you'd think he'd be a lot cleaner, or like his clothes have been dunked in rivers and oceans, and
I gotta say, this rescue scene is probably one of the most, enjoyable scenes in the movie, too. Like, he shoots
Agreed.
the rope, and this is so classic. Like, how many movies does this happen in? And it actually kind of reminds me of Braveheart again. Like, he's getting, like, hung, or he's getting, stripped, and, like, all his friends are there
Sure.
in Braveheart, and I'm like, but there is no rescue in that movie.
Well, the group of captured merry men come out to be hanged, and it's real dramatic. There's drums being played, and the sheriff is forcing Marion to watch from a up above balcony, which is pretty sick, for a villain to be like, this is my wedding gift to you. I'm going to be hanging, 8 guys, and I'm going to force you to watch, and you're going to like it,
This guy's a perv.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and as they're being the procession to the gallows, Wolf sees Will Scarlet in the crowd, and he's just like, "You traitor!" And he tackles him, and sure enough, the sheriff's like, "What's going on? Bring him to me." They present him. Will Scarlet says, "I went to the hideout. Robin Hood is dead. I didn't see his body, but, I saw a grave." And so the sheriff is like, weighs it over for a millisecond and then says, "All right, string him up with the rest of them." And then there's a great moment in the film where the hangman looks up at his gallows and there's not enough nooses made to hang everybody. What a great joke, it seems that there's not enough room to hang.
I respectfully decline.
That was it. That was it.
Christian Slater's got a good snarky line. Yeah.
And instead they're gonna we'll just chop his head off, which is great. And so they bring him up there and they tie him down to what is actually one of the barrels that has been filled with gunpowder.
Which they were hoping to blow up
right,
to free everybody.
That was the whole
Which
linchpin.
probably would have fucked up everybody
that
if
was
they'd actually blown it up.
That was what the plan was going to be. It was all centered around the ability to blow up the gallows to free all these guys.
Your model is for nothing, Kevin Costner.
Right.
You did it all
Yeah, and
for nothing.
Do you guys like that part where the hangman then ties Christian Slater down to the barrel and he's like, "There's always room for one more," and he spits, and it
was a little spit.
That is a cool scene.
It's real spit.
It is.
It comes out of his mouth and lands right on Christian Slater's face.
Yeah, it actually ends up right by his nose.
Yeah,
that is a real moment. I'm glad that got kept.
There's actually a moment earlier in the movie where Alan Rickman's when Robin's running away, and I think his tunic gets caught on something, and he walks away, and it rips, and I think that was an accidental moment too.
Yeah, that seemed like a real moment. I remember that one. Yeah,
I'm glad they kept these moments in there. Now, okay, so this breaks down, right? The escape starts to happen. Wolf is the first one to get hung.
Yeah, this is
the child.
This is messed up. I don't know any other movie where they hang a child and you get to watch someone die.
People are throwing rocks at the child.
Yeah,
these people are bloodthirsty.
Right.
Okay.
And this is one of Robin Hood's best, luckiest shots he's ever taken in his life, and he
takes 2 of them.
He takes that one arrow shot, hits the rope hanging the kid.
Not enough.
But it's not enough. So it takes 2 shots, but he's good.
He does free the kid, and that's when all hell breaks loose. Azim takes shot at a powder keg that's away from everyone, creates an explosion, which creates a diversion.
Right.
Then there's a second one that he hits. Another explosion happens. All of the people that were co-conspirating against the Sheriff of Nottingham now are put into action. And
then Sheriff of Nottingham gives the executioner the go-ahead to just get on with it. And he kicks out all the stools behind all the other hanging people.
Before that, though, can I interject here?
Go ahead.
Before that is the beheading of Will. Okay,
yeah.
And now here's where
the flaming
arrow comes in, because there's a flaming arrow on a corpse next to him.
That's right.
Takes that flaming arrow, puts it into his bow.
Got the explosion behind him.
Yep. And fires it. As soon as, the executioner has the axe above his head, and you see that flaming arrow go right straight in the middle of his... It must have hit his nose.
It hits him in the face.
Yeah.
Wow.
Man.
It's fantastic.
It is. So now then you see little John, he's terrified, and he takes down the entire structure that has everyone hanging off of it. And he's putting his all into it. He just crashes right into one of the poles, and you see the whole structure just kind of leaning over, because it's well built, but not that well built. And finally takes it down to a level where all 7 of the other people finally get down to their feet, and they're just like, and you hear a collective gasp as everyone who was being hung.
Now everything is going great, right, for the Merry Men. It seems to be the battle seems to be kind of going in their favor at this moment, right? We've freed the guys that were hanging, and all hell is breaking loose, because I would have to assume that no one has ever seen explosion before.
Yeah.
You
see the look of amazement on Sheriff Nottingham's face, too.
And so there's this great part where now they have to, because the sheriff has, he's recognized that shit's going down. I've got to marry Maid Marian.
Azim, he's on the top of the castle.
Oh, yeah.
He creates a call to everyone. This is right as soon as the shit got being done. And this is where
Everyone
he
is
calls the
fleeing.
favor of everyone who's fleeing in madness. He's like, "Attention, Englishmen! I am Amor. I am choosing to fight, and if you will be free men, you will join Robin Hood." And then everyone says, "Yes, okay, we are free men."
Well, yeah,
tower.
because now the
Let's talk about the catapult. Just briefly.
Oh,
we have to talk about the
yes,
catapult.
right.
That's what I wanted to talk
Yeah.
about was the catapult.
Yeah.
Because how are they going to get up into the tower, right?
Right.
Because the
Or
gate,
get over the wall.
The gate has
is
been closed.
locked.
Yeah, they need to get over the wall, and so they're going to go on a catapult, like a
So
human.
this is basically
A human
killing themselves at
catapult.
this point.
Yeah.
If you see a stone wall and you're like, it's 40 feet high. If you drop from 40 feet, if you drop from a 4-story building, you're pretty much dead. Like,
Right.
you're gonna break
Right.
all your legs, all your bones, you're done. Let's just get on this catapult, I don't know.
Yeah.
Somehow, there's a gigantic pile of hay on the other side.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
is so stupid.
Well,
It's so dumb. And then the only redeeming part is that Will Scarlet says...
I got this too.
Okay. Fuck it.
well,
What is it?
Fuck me, they cleared
Fuck me, they cleared it.
Fuck me. He
Fuck
cleared
me,
it.
he cleared it. Which probably got every single theater across every city in the entire country
Everyone
just
was laughing.
uproariously laughing.
That was an ad-lib line.
And
It was a very
great.
strange shift in tone also for the movie because suddenly it became like a buddy cop movie because Robin jumps on and then here comes Azim, his partner in crime, and
Yeah.
they're like, all right, let's go get him. Is she worth it? Worth dying for? You bet. And then,
Oh, that's a callback to when they were talking
right,
earlier.
and then they go over the wall and fuck me.
Somehow
he cleared
don't
it.
die. Yeah.
Oh, it's just.
They would have 99% of the time died by climbing on that
But
catapult.
they didn't, and that's why this movie is amazing.
So talk a little
You
bit about
convinced
the trying to get into the final chamber.
Oh, well, they smashed the statue into the door.
Yeah, they can't get through the door because
Right.
it's barred shut. A lot like the door that we have
to
back
this
here.
room. We are in
but-
a
but-
locked
yeah.
chamber right
Yeah,
now.
we are.
And what's going on in that chamber while they're trying to get in? Why are they trying to get in right now?
Why?
Maid Marian's getting raped.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
this is so fucked up.
It's
This
a
is
really-
amazingly fucked
This
up.
is a really fucked up scene because they brought that evil priest with them. The sheriff is forcing him to marry the two of them. Forcefully.
And the witch says, now she is fertile. She will give us a son.
I think she says even like,
Kim right now.
like she's
now.
right.
She's right.
She's right.
But this is a PG-13 movie.
Yeah.
Like, is rape okay? Like,
Well,
he, spreads her legs at
Yeah.
some
Oh my
point.
god, it's
very
bad.
It's messed up. So
I mean, and he's like, I can't perform with that racket. Like, this is
Yeah.
crazy.
the
This is just crazy. at this
because
point.
they are at the altar saying vows, like there's a priest marrying them, and while that's happening, the sheriff is stripping clothes off, trying to fuck her, and then on top of that, you have the witch who is just excitedly looking on because she really wants to see.
Okay, what's the best case scenario in this? He
Best or worst?
They get married.
Sure.
Then he immediately fucks her, even though there's all this calamity going on. Then what? She gets impregnated. So I mean, I don't understand why it has to be so sudden. Can't it be like, all right, let's get married and let's escape first?
Right.
Let's just escape first. Why do we have to do this in this moment?
And why
Kill
does
Robin.
What's with the witch needing to be there? And I don't know. It's
The
Yeah, she even
whole
says
scene.
it will give us a child. Us.
There was a scene cut that the Sheriff of Nottingham's mother is the witch. That the witch is his mother.
Oh
That scene
shit,
was-
that would have made a lot more
Yeah,
sense.
it makes
So-
a lot of sense then. Also, in a strange, so Azim and Robin are now pounding on the door, and there's
With the statue
Yeah.
that was created in the likeness of Sheriff
Yeah.
Nottingham, by the way.
Once again, in the buddy cop moment, there's a lot of fun banter between the two about stubborn English
Oh,
oak,
yeah.
I think he says.
Yeah, because the door won't come down because it's made of that.
Right, so Robin decides he's going to find an alternate way in because they can't get through that door. So he runs out and he's going to try to come down from the top of the tower, swing in through the window. But in the meantime, the witch comes down the hallway,
How did she
ready
get out?
to stab Azim. Where the fuck did she go? Was there a back door the whole
Yes.
time?
A
For real.
secret
Yeah,
entrance.
she's
Yeah.
like, the
Good
painted
point.
man. As soon as she stabs him, the painted man, as I have foretold.
Oh,
Please
yeah.
don't hurt me. I'm but an old woman.
Mhm.
And she redoubles her efforts.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
he throws her against the wall.
Throws her hard against the
Takes
wall.
the spear, and then when she charges him right after she gets up, he basically just backs up with the spear in front of him, and she runs herself into it.
He accidentally kills her.
She impales
Which is
herself.
Strange.
Yeah, I mean, she did
That is
that.
the fate
Running
of
into
evil.
Well, one of her eyes, you could... like just
That contact was just like fucking with her vision.
She had like glaucoma in one eye.
Yeah,
it was.
That's a little bit of something that you
Well,
just
maybe
have
they
to visualize
didn't
at
want,
home.
they didn't want Azim to be like a cold-hearted killer. Like he doesn't have
Right.
much to like hate this woman for. So like they don't want him to be like just like stab her and
You
put
know,
blood.
just as an aside, though, one of the guys at the time, he wrote a book called Big Bad Islam or something like that. And he actually praised this movie for an accurate, not completely accurate, but a very positive representation of people in that whole area. Whereas a lot of movies at the time would just demonize the religion and the people there. This movie actually put a very positive light on people.
Maybe
from
Morgan
that area.
Freeman doesn't have the best accent. Or,
Well, yeah, I mean, but his actions are what carried everything.
You know, and there definitely felt like there was more to that story that maybe was cut from the movie because when she says the painted man, he in turn says the witch.
At one point,
like he recognizes it, or like he's had a dream, or
no. The only point is earlier someone mentions the witch, and he goes witch. And that's the only time. It's like, so this is the witch that one guy
they never
mentioned.
met each other, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so another thing we need to touch on is Friar Tuck and the Bishop.
Oh.
In the middle of this scene, we cut away to Friar Tuck, who sees the Bishop, and the Bishop is counting money.
He's just like gathering, hoarding money.
And he's like, I figured I'd see you here. And the Bishop's like, you wouldn't hurt another man of the cloth? And the Friar says, no, but I'll help you pack. And right behind the Bishop is a stained glass window. And he starts loading up the Bishop.
I remember this scene as a kid.
Yes. Oh, it's so awesome. He's like, well, you need all this money for where you're going. And here's 30 pieces of silver to send you straight to hell. And he pushes the Bishop
crazy. He
out of the window.
Pushes him out the window, yeah.
And another weird fact that I saw in the trivia is that the Bishop, when he fell out of the window, he almost died from that scene.
In real life.
Almost.
Wow.
So, Robin...
This is the big battle.
The big
sword fight. There's a good sword fight.
I liked it.
I liked it too.
There's a good sword fight. There's a lot of destruction of the environment around them. One thing to note is the Sheriff of Nottingham pulls out Robin Hood's father's sword and says, this is your father's sword, recognize it? And Robin Hood says, I will never be scared of my father's sword. So the culmination of the battle ends with Robin being bested, and Sheriff of Nottingham has his father's sword right up against his neck. He waits for a moment, pulls the sword above his head, and while he does this, you think, oh fuck, it's over, man. He's gonna get him. He has the dagger that the Sheriff of Nottingham gave Maid Marian in his fucking pants. Still,
he had that dagger
right by his dick.
Yeah,
it pulls it right out.
How uncomfortable!
Right in the heart. And he has, I think, an excellent death scene for the Sheriff of Nottingham.
I think it's a little over the top.
He turns around after he drops his Robin Hood sword. He turns around, looks at the dagger, looks at Maid Marian, and finally dies on the stairs.
Right, because he looks at her like, oh, you betrayed me. I gave this dagger to you, and you gave it to Robin, and Robin gave it back to me.
And full circle.
So it has a great Friday the 13th type moment.
Oh, true,
surprise ending to the movie. You think everything is great. Oh, everyone lets out a sigh of relief, and Robin is walking over to Marian to embrace her and give her a hug, right? The sheriff is dead. Suddenly, out of fucking nowhere, the witch!
She's not dead!
The witch pops up, and it's this weird kind of like Sam Raimi shot of the witch, you know, and this point of view shot. Suddenly the door opens and Azim walks in and throws a giant fucking sword and hits the witch.
Great.
Oh, he hits the witch in the chest and she flies.
The scimitar just like just sends her flying across the room.
And she's dead. And it's just one of those great, like, it was a surprise scare moment. Like, that was great.
But also they had to close the storyline on Azim, like, saving Robin Hood's life. Finally.
Repaying his debt.
Yeah, exactly.
Life debt.
Yeah.
We have a happy ending, and we're brought to the forest where Robin Hood and Maid Marian are to be wed. Mm-hmm. But there is still one more twist.
The best surprise of all.
Wow, it's like Christmas!
Surprise cameo.
Surprise cameo.
So Friar Tuck is doing his thing. wedding these two. And then he says, if anyone has any objection to these two being married, speak now or forever hold your peace. And all of a sudden we see a bunch of horses come up. And someone says, me, I have an objection. Guess who that is? Trevor, who is it?
James Bond.
No way! That's crazy! Dan building of universes!
Oh, but Sean Connery
Wow.
is...
Yeah, Sean
He
Connery.
is the king of England. That was a...
King Richard.
Yep.
King Dick.
His
Back
name
from
was
the
not...
Crusades.
Yeah, his name was not in the credits in the beginning. So he was definitely a surprise cameo right at the end. And I think it's very befitting of the movie to end this way, too, because Friar Tuck... he's doing the ceremony for Marion and Robin. He says, and you may now kiss the bride. And Robin, Kevin Costner, in one last line of bad dialogue, kind of turns and says, I know that.
I hated that line.
And he says it real awkwardly.
Two interesting things about Sean Connery is that he played Robin Hood in a different Robin Hood movie.
True.
I can't remember the name of it, but it was in 86 or something like that. So it's kind of interesting. And he also had been offered the role as Robin of Locksley's dad, the one who gets killed early in the movie, but he had been playing a lot of roles as a dad around that time, so he didn't take the part. But then he took this part, and he was paid $250,000 for 2 days of work, which he donated to charity.
Good man.
Good guy, Sean Connery.
It took him 2 days to
I guess.
film
I don't know. It was like a 5-minute scene. What's 2 days?
It was like 30 seconds.
Okay, whatever. 2 days. Maybe one was rehearsal. Who knows? This movie was given a golden raspberry. I thought this would be an interesting factoid for people out there. Golden raspberries are like the Academy Awards for bad movies, which I'd never heard about, but it is held every single year, the day before the Academy Awards. It's been held every year since 1986, and it still goes to this day. Kevin Costner was given an award at the Golden Raspberries for Worst Actor. Christian Slater was given a Worst Supporting Actor.
Good.
Award at the Golden Raspberries.
I love this movie. Did you like this
I
movie?
hated it at first, the accents, the cheesiness, but, it's got a warm spot in my heart, and it's pretty decent for a movie from 1991.
Yeah, I liked it. It's a cheesy movie. Now, back then, it was pretty good.
Oh, it was great.
Watching it as a kid, that was fucking entertainment, man. It's pure entertainment.
These are some movies that were released in 1991. Terminator 2, Silence of the Lambs, Hook, Boys in the Hood, Point Break, The Addams Family, City Slickers, Thelma and Louise, Hudson Hawk, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, My Girl, Drop Dead Fred, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. These are all movies released in 1991. Held up to those movies, this was basically like the meat of my nostalgic, this was like the pinnacle of my nostalgic childhood. Robin Hood Men in Tights, it's up there, but doesn't even hold a candle to some of these other movies that were in that same year.
Well, obviously, you keep calling it Men in Tights.
Sorry. My God. Well, that movie is far superior to this movie as well.
You have fonder memories of Robin Hood Men in Tights, which actually references and makes fun of
Prince of Thieves
a lot.
Indeed.
I did like Prince of Thieves a ton when I was a kid, though, I have to admit.
Oh my God, I gotta pee.
All right.
I gotta pee so bad. You guys, we are done with the movie segment of Game and Movie. This was an enjoyable movie. I fucking love. I think we all liked it in one way or another.
Oh yeah.
Despite the bad acting, it hits a nostalgic trip for us. But we have a game to talk about, the NES version of this game entitled Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Who would have guessed?
Wow.
Hell yeah.
Alright, everyone, it's time to tackle the game. And the game we're talking about is Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. It was released in North America November of 1991, and in Europe December 10th of 1992. It was not released in Japan. It was developed by Sculpted Software Incorporated and Bits Studios. A little bit of information about Sculpted Software. Their headquarters were in Salt Lake City, Utah. They founded in 1984 and went defunct in 2002. Sculpted Software was founded by Brian Brandenburg, George Metos, and Peter Adams in 1984. with Paul Webb as an in-house composer. They were acquired in an all-stock transaction by Acclaim Entertainment in 1995. The company was renamed Iguana West in 97, and then Acclaim Studios Salt Lake City in 1999. The studio was closed on December 2002 due to Acclaim's poor management. They were bleeding money at that time. The remaining operations were transferred to Acclaim Studios Austin. As far as Sculpted Software goes, they've developed some cool games, actually. In 88, they did Mario Brothers for the Atari 8-bit family, so they took over one of Nintendo's properties, which is kind of rare.
Yeah.
What's that game? I'm going to play that.
I know. I'm intrigued.
They did Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego for the Amiga in 89. In 91, they did this game, and they did Tecmo Bowl for the Game Boy, so a little bit of a throwback to episode 3 for us there.
Wow.
In 1992, they developed a game called Captain Novolin for the SNES, and they did a multitude of Simpsons games, Bart's Nightmare for the SNES. They did all of the Star Wars games for the SNES.
No shit.
Yeah, so the Empire Strikes Back, Super Star Wars.
Noteworthy, because those games are pretty solid.
Heck yeah. They also did all the Mortal Kombat games
No shit.
for all the systems. The Sculpted Software did a lot of kind of cool,
I guess so.
well-known games, actually. I was surprised
And this
to
game
hear about
is
this.
no different. Not well known, but
Yeah.
not bad.
Right, but this game's, surprisingly decent, actually. They also did wrestling games, WWF Raw for, the 16-bit systems, and Doom for the SNES, which wasn't a good port, but it's at the end of their timeline here. Avalanche Software was founded by the then 4 former Sculpted developers in October 95, so they defected from Sculpted and created Avalanche Software. And one of the programmers from Sculpted Software, Randy Linden, he later founded the company Bleem. And anyone who doesn't know what Bleem is, this is a really interesting time in video games. Bleem was a commercial PlayStation emulator released for IBM-compatible PCs and Dreamcast. So think about this. You could emulate PlayStation games on a Dreamcast with Bleem.
Okay.
That's crazy.
It just
Right, there were a lot of lawsuits, and finally it did come down. That's crazy. So, helping them out also was Bits Studios, who is from Britain. They had over 30 titles published in the United States, Europe, and Asia on multiple platforms. They took care of R-Type games on the Game Boy. An awesome NES, 2.5D platformer called Castilian. Gun Force for the Super NES, and that was IREM as the publisher, along with the R-Type games on the Game Boy. And they also did Die Hard Vendetta for the GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox, another throwback.
Wow.
Game and Movie Episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit about the actual developers. It was published by Virgin Games, who is also British. They were a British conglomerate of the Virgin Group. It was formed in 1983 and went defunct in 2003. Within that time, between 1983 and 2003, they were owned by Virgin themselves, 100%. Then they switched over. Sega of Japan owned them for a couple of years, which is weird. Then Blockbuster, the video game rental store, owned 73% of them in between 93 and 94.
73%?
Yes. and they shared it with Hasbro.
Yeah.
So Hasbro and Blockbuster owned a company together in 1993 to 1994. Then it went to the Spelling Group with Viacom, Interplay, and Titus. Titus ended up with ownership of them and then went defunct. Basically is what happened. The genre of this game is action-adventure. I don't know, talk about this game a little bit. This game is actually, it impressed the shit out of me.
It's like Secret of Mana. It's like a weird action RPG.
Action-adventure RPG. You could equip your character.
Mm-hmm. The equip screen was kind of, I wouldn't say groundbreaking. I wouldn't know what came before.
For consoles, NES it was.
Okay.
But you would see something like this in old school PC RPG.
Mm-hmm.
You would see something like that, like equipping the hands with something, equipping their chest plate to the chest.
Mm-hmm. And it gave kind of like a face to the normal equipping process instead of equip this leather armor or this whatever. It's like you'd have to place it on their chest. It shows like a picture of a person. And and a little eyeball, and a little mouth. So it's like, eat the apple, you gotta drag it to the mouth, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I thought, it was kind of an annoying screen. it was
I
fun.
thought it was really cool.
Fun,
and I do remember as a kid, this was a game that was on the cover of Nintendo Power.
It was, yes.
And I got real excited about it and everything. And then later on, for some reason, I I didn't get it for a gift or purchase it or anything, but we rented it quite a bit. I remember that system of how you equip the character and not having ever played any game like that before. So it seemed really, I guess, the first of its kind or revolutionary. And I'm sure
as a kid,
I'm sure it's not. I'm sure there's been more before.
Ultima had done that, right. I think.
Nintendo Power put it on the cover. It was kind of well known because they put it on the cover and the game didn't come out until 6 months later. So that was pretty interesting that it would come out so soon. People got excited, but then it wasn't until much later that the game actually came out.
What I think was interesting about the inventory system, depending on what hand you equipped the weapon in, was whether you pressed A or B.
Oh, cool!
Yeah,
on the combat screen.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
But it was reverse, which was also weird. So that B was the right hand, A was the left hand, and as you know, with an NES controller, B is on the left, and then A is on the right.
That's right.
So
one of my favorite things about that screen is that when because you could shift between every player, so every person in your party could carry only so many items.
Right.
But if you take an item and you're on Duncan, if you take it to the eyeball and you put an apple up to the eye on Duncan's screen, it says Duncan is blind, cannot see. This is hilarious.
That's awesome. This game does follow the plot of the movie pretty well, I would say.
Yeah.
There are some differences in between it, but they're kind of nitpicky.
For a movie adaptation,
God,
I think
it's so close. It's probably one of the
very
closest in the 8-bit arena.
But for some reason, they don't use any of the pictures from the movie. I don't know
True.
if it's a licensing thing or whatever, which
I don't
seems
think so.
crazy because they would make money. You feel like they would be in it together. In fact, the Robin Hood doesn't look anything like him.
Yeah.
And I really, really felt like the Azim, little picture that comes up, looks exactly like Ice Cube. For some reason, it's like this Ice Cube with a hat.
can see that. I can see that.
I don't know why.
In this game, there are actually 4 modes of gameplay, which I thought was awesome. This game is so deep. It must have used all of the technology that the NES had at the time to really fit this game all inside of there. It's a really deep, actually fairly long game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One of the modes, the first mode of gameplay is the standard adventuring mode, depicted the action from an overhead perspective as the player guided Robin through the environment and battling enemies. The second one was the one-on-one duels, and that was shown from the side, so you actually got to see.
It's
like a little sword. Yeah, it's like
you're right.
fencing or sword
It was
play.
cool. Occasionally you'd go into a fencing battle with main characters and things. That was really cool. I like that.
Yeah, you can jump, attack, and guard.
Right. And
those are hard. You could roll.
They were pretty hard.
They were very hard. And you were often pitted against an opponent who was obviously
far stronger than you, had more
way
hit points.
stronger than you, and you would have to back yourself into a corner and just button mash until he walked into your sword a lot of times.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I don't know, and I had mentioned it before earlier in the movie when during a sword fight he jumps on a table.
Yes.
Remember it well.
Holy shit! On the duel, the fencing duels in this game.
The best strategy.
Tables are very important.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you gotta get up on one or get under one or, what you need to do, but...
Yeah.
Very accurate to the movie. I was surprised at this game in a lot of different aspects.
Me too. Yes.
And this is a game, I will say, I have never played this game. And for an 8-bit game, that's kind of rare for me. I've been around for a long time, and for me to not even have played this game, and let alone for it to be good.
See,
For that time.
I was wondering about that. I was this just seems strange that I'd never played this game and also never heard about it. But the fact that it came out in 1991, I think, is the key. Yep. Because Super Nintendo came out in 1991.
That's right.
And all these different games were coming out. I have this list of games that came out in 1991, just for reference.
Yeah,
we got Street Fighter 2, Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, The Manhattan Project, which is weird that those two came out in threes. Okay,
yeah, it is. That is
Tecmo
weird.
Super Bowl for the Nintendo, Sonic the Hedgehog, Battletoads, Castlevania 4, Mega Man 4. All these amazing games came out in that year. A lot of them are for Super Nintendo. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is the transition period.
Yep.
Like, this is where we got that Super Nintendo. We got Street Fighter 2. Like, I'm not going back to Nintendo for Robin Hood.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend $50 on this game.
And Super Nintendo came out in August.
I wonder why it got drowned.
Prince of Thieves comes out in November or December of that year. Like,
Yeah.
it's already over, you know?
It
like,
is. It
everything
just
is
missed
already...
it. Yeah,
Just
I
missed
mean,
it.
The
Yep.
third mode of gameplay is kind of like a melee mode. It featured action taking place from an extreme overhead view, and this is supposed to simulate large battles.
Right.
Mhm.
So that's crazy.
That was fun,
Already
too.
there's 3, but there actually is a 4th one where you're on top of a horse and you're
Oh.
jumping over
Oh, yeah.
ponds and
I
sticks.
hate
That was
the
so
horse.
boring. That was
The
so
horse
dumb.
chases are hard. I mean, because one screw up and
That's
you're-
true. Game over.
Yeah.
This game doesn't pull any punches.
This game
it's
is
hard.
relentless on
Yeah,
that.
actually,
Yeah.
one misstep on the horse and you game over.
That's right.
I can't remember how many continues you got, but it is
Not
precious
many.
few. Yeah, you game over and you're back to square one. Which, with an NES game, that's not bad. Like, going back, if you have 3 NES games, you're like, alright, I gamed over, I'll start over, that's fine, you know, like, I just want to kill time and have fun because I'm a kid.
Yeah.
But now you're like, game over, oh god, I gotta go all the way
It's
back
true.
to the prison.
I also found that game mode to be difficult, the one where it's the extreme overhead, where you're controlling 3 characters, because you can toggle between the 3 of them.
I never knew
didn't
that.
even realize
Yeah,
that either.
yes, you can toggle
Interesting.
between the 3, because if you probably noticed that if you're not controlling the guy, he
You get
just
your
walks
ass
into a
kicked.
big group of enemies and gets his ass kicked.
I thought they
and
weren't
then-
too bad, but luckily, if one of them gets killed in that overhead, they don't actually die. They get go down to 1 hit point.
Yep, that's true.
So then, once you go back to the regular gameplay,
Yeah.
they just have 1 hit point. Which-
Also, in the fact of progression of the game, I did not know until Trevor told me there is a password feature
Yes.
Mhm.
that you can actually utilize. So
but
that,
you
that-
almost need a secret code
It-
just to get to the password.
It's a hidden password selection screen. So,
That's so crazy.
on the game start screen, you need to hit A 8 times in a row, and then hit B 8 times in a row.
that
and
must have been in the Nintendo Power issue.
Well, and that brings up the hidden password menu. But I do remember that being a code thing, because I don't know. I recall.
So you played this game
I
as a
recall
kid.
having memories of renting this game and playing that, and then having a code or something like that.
I would be
A,
interested to know.
B. Here we go.
Now
Let's
we can
do
put in a
this.
password what password?
that
I
would
don't
bring up
even
the
know.
menu screen for the password, and the passwords were easy to remember because they were things like Chase or
Bull.
But
Boar.
why would you even
Boar.
know these
Oh, yeah,
things?
boar.
because it was printed in some kind of
Or when you called the Nintendo hotline.
yeah,
or
whatever,
something.
or you learned it from somewhere, you
Some
know.
friend of a friend, my brother's friend told me that if you put in
Well, 'cause
Chase...
Because this game is hard, you know. I mean, it's
very
really
hard.
hard, and there's probably no way you're going to make it to the end as a kid, or you're going to
You get 3 lives, right?
you're going to lose interest, or you're going to get a Super Nintendo, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And F-Zero has much more allure than
Right.
Robin Hood Prince of Thieves graphically and gameplay-wise.
yeah,
I really liked upgrading the armor and upgrading the weapons. You get the bow, you get the bigger swords and things like that. The bow was the best, and you'd find a lot of arrows. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, they weren't skimpy when it came to actual, equipment pickups.
right.
Yeah.
Like getting
Which was
ammo
nice.
and
One
yeah,
annoying
health.
thing is when you kill someone and their dead body appears, you have to search their dead body, then you have to
Yeah.
select take to
Yeah,
figure
yeah.
out, and then you get an apple, and you have to go into the screen, select player, then grab the apple, go over to which screen you want the player to eat the apple, put it on the mouth feature, and then you get 9 health points
Oh,
out of
right, yeah.
100.
This
I just
reminded
did
me-
all that for 9 health points, god damn it. My guy, he just ate 4 apples, it took 10 minutes.
Yeah, it
This
was
reminded me
tedious.
of
It was tedious.
Shadowgate or Deja Vu or one of those games on the NES
Right.
with that scum system or whatever they called it. Maniac Mansion had the same thing.
Mm.
We had the mouse cursor. You had to use blah on blah, but
That's
it
true.
it wasn't word based. It was
Right.
mostly picture based.
That's
Back then, there was nothing like that on the NES, so it was fun. Nowadays, we're encumbered by it.
True.
Yeah,
This sucks because we can't just hit the apple, double click it, and he eats it. No, you have to bring the apple to the mouth, and that's why you are so
But
frustrated.
with the
by it.
game, with
And,
the game
why
plan,
we
it's
all
even
were.
slower. Without a mouse,
Right? Yeah,
See,
it's
I
not
got
instantaneous.
really frustrated on the game too, where it would have a 3-dimensional rendering, but that is then
Yes.
treated as a 2-dimensional, So there'd be a
Yes.
picture of a castle, and you can't walk around behind the castle because of the turrets on the top, or, you know...
Yeah. I can't really put it much better than that, but...
Yeah, you see the
You
picture
can't
of
walk
the tree.
behind a 3D...
Normally you can walk behind a tree,
Right.
but the graphic of the tree is there and counted as the entire space that it takes up. Imagine if things were like that in the real world.
Gosh, yeah.
I couldn't walk past this computer or microphone in front of me because it stretches out into infinity.
Yeah, that was frustrating. And then that led you to get stuck on the environment a lot, too,
Yes,
when you were trying
yes.
to walk around through it.
Agreed. I guess that's just a limitation of the NES system, I guess, maybe at that point.
Plus, were you guys frustrated that those enemies, sometimes just the soldiers never stopped coming?
Yeah.
They'd be like...
They would
Instant
scroll-
spawns
Yeah, they would
Yeah.
spawn like crazy.
And they'd bottleneck in an area, and you would just be stuck there hacking at these never-ending...
If you had the arrows, the bottleneck wasn't so much of a problem.
But you can
Yeah,
run out
sure.
of arrows, so...
Yeah, you can, but I didn't find it to be so much of an annoyance where it would be like Gauntlet trying, you know, where the monsters spawn at Gauntlet and there'd be like 80 of them. There was like
It
4 or
is
5
similar to
at the
Gauntlet,
most, you know, and you'd take care of them. Yeah, it didn't annoy me too much, but it did annoy me.
I would say it was a great game to play on my computer because I could do a save state.
Yes,
So if I got
that's
to
how I
that
played
same
it
point,
too.
it was like, alright, save state, you die, like, I'm not starting over. I got a save state.
Right.
Here we go. I'm going to enjoy this game to the fullest before reaching frustration point.
Did you try the level select at all? Or
I didn't because,
Okay.
as I was saying, I was doing
Okay.
the save state. But were you playing on the actual NES?
I
Do
was
you have
playing
this
on,
game?
Yeah, I have
look
this
at
game.
this
I have
guy.
the cartridge.
He
so-
was not only playing the actual game, but he was watching Men in Tights, our fucking name. He was watching Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves on a VHS copy.
VHS,
All right, guys,
yeah.
listen to this. That's a VHS
I
tape
think,
right there. How long has it been since you fucking heard that, huh? You pieces of
Pretty
shit!
classic sound. You fucking assholes out there. Watch a goddamn
Trevor,
VHS.
pick it up and slam it down and call people a name.
Shit.
No, come on, some
God,
feeling
come
into
on.
it.
No, what I was going to say, though... No, I wanted to...
Will you just slam it down and call the people
just
a
call
name?
an asshole.
Assholes.
Thank
Better,
you!
thank you.
No, I wanted to say about... Because you obviously... You didn't beat the game, right? I mean...
No, I beat the boar. I went on the
Okay.
boar hunt, which is like 6 of 13 chapters.
Right, you were unable to
and
beat the
then
game.
I watched the rest on the YouTube
Okay.
playthrough, which is a horrible experience. So that's a
It was
very
so
boring
boring.
game to watch.
I made it halfway through and I was
It's just
like,
people
"Ugh."
going through the
Right.
menu and feeding apples to people most of the time.
But you were talking about the bad rendering of the photorealistic images in the cutscenes and stuff like that.
Yes,
Sure.
Did you watch the end of the...
I watched the very end, yes.
It's weird, right? It's awkward because for some reason the music is gone. There's no music, and it's just this
Yeah.
silent dialogue. You would
What
have
the
to
fuck's up
imagine
with that?
maybe the Bryan Adams song
Oh,
was
if
intended.
only.
Maybe it was intended to be in there.
Yeah.
And
Oh, shit!
and you're gonna have to look it up. But there's a great they get married, of course, in the end of the game, and
And Sean Connery shows up.
Robin
doesn't
goes
look
in
like
for
him.
a kiss, right?
Mm.
And they get closer, 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 and Marion looks scared and like pulling away, and they almost kiss, and then it just cuts to the end of the game. Yeah, they do not show it. It's, I don't know. That kiss with blast processing would have been that would have been amazing.
Dude, imagine that kiss at 7 megahertz instead of 1.82.
You can feel the pixels smushing up against each other.
Oh, man. A clever, cute note about this game. Nearly any object could be held
Yeah.
as a weapon.
Yeah.
And when you pick
Oh,
up
yeah.
Duncan, when he first joins Robin's band, he is holding a chicken leg.
Yeah, I
He's
think you
holding a
can hit
chicken
people
leg.
with it.
Yeah.
And as we all know, chicken leg,
Done me good.
that's right, chicken leg done me good.
Yeah, it's cool. It had the defense levels and numbers and the attack numbers. So
Mhm.
depending on what armor you had and what weapons you had. So yeah, it was pretty good RPG. I mean, pretty good early RPG.
Around the same time, also, I have one more note on this. Robin Hood game was also featured in an episode of Captain N, the Game Master. We all remember that from when we were children. Saturday mornings, fucking awesome. The episode was almost certainly a reference to Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, because it was the only Robin Hood game released for the NES in the relevant time frame. But none of the characters ever made a reference to the Prince of Thieves subtitle possibly due to like the rights issue. Also,
wanna
none of
see
the
that
Robin Hood
episode.
characters in the episode resemble their counterparts from the film. As a result, the episode only vaguely alludes to the actual game. That's from Wikipedia.
You think that was like Nintendo or Nintendo Power been like, hey, throw this in the episode?
Who knows? But yeah, probably. It's the powers that be that controlled both the game rights and the animation. Yeah, it had to have just been Nintendo, and Virgin was probably like, Bit Studios and Sculpted Software are still working on it. We need 6 more months. Well, we've already started the animation. Okay, we'll just do some rewrites here. That's probably how that.
I could
ended
also
up.
imagine another scenario where, by not using Kevin Costner's likeness and then the Prince of Thieves name and property, they could use it as probably some sort of like public domain sort
Not
of.
have to pay them.
Yeah, I mean that Robin Hood fits under a fairy tale or legend that you can then use as a property without having to pay.
There you go.
royalties.
There you go.
Probably more like
That's a good theory, I think. The whole land of rights and fair usage is crazy. I mean, to this day with YouTube shit, using other people's stuff, or you just, taking a game and using it for commentary, like we are, it's still a hot button issue. Good game. I thought it was a pretty good game, actually.
I like the game.
The one thing I remember about Captain N is how terrible Mega Man's voice was.
Oh my
And
god, yes.
it's sad that's the one thing I remember about Captain N is just like cringing. I'm Mega Man. Like, you see the guy on the screen, like, that's not what he sounds like. Even in my childish imagination, it's not what he sounds like.
Well, they also ruined Simon Belmont.
Oh yeah, I don't even remember that voice.
Remember, they made him like a pretty boy. He always had a mirror with him.
Oh god, yes.
Man. Maybe I don't want to rewatch this
Yeah, they
show.
ruined that for me.
Dude,
ruined everything.
rewatching this show would be an exercise in torture.
Yeah.
It's a cool concept. He's got the belt with the Nintendo controller. You can like stop time and stuff like that.
Back then it was cool.
It was cool.
It's
Mother
like,
Brain was like a villain.
Yeah, Mother Brain
Some
was
cool
like a villain.
stuff.
Fighting
Kid
King
Icarus,
Hippo.
King Hippo.
Even though Samus Aran never comes into it, Mother Brain is there. Alright, well that's the game.
That's the game. We covered it in a good, 10
it's-
minutes? 5 minutes?
26.
26 minutes.
Alright.
I enjoyed it.
We did the game justice, I think. Yeah, I enjoyed the game. I thought it was a decent game. We're going to get to some feedback. I didn't cover feedback last episode. We're going to go right into it. Episode 2, we covered Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and Beethoven's Second for the SNES. Our friend Max Hester on Facebook said, it's funnier than the actual movie.
Oh,
Dig! Thanks, Max, for your feedback. And Corey Bauman says, how come you guys didn't watch the movie Beethoven? And we have covered this a couple of times. The actual game and the movie on Game and Movie Podcast doesn't need to sync up. It doesn't matter. And even if we did, the well would run dry and we'd have terrible games and movies to talk about. Moving on to episode 3, The Longest Yard and Tecmo Super Bowl. Max Hester says, another good episode. Even though I have no interest in football, I still like the talk. And that says something. For someone who doesn't like football, I mean, usually when you don't like football, you really don't like football.
Right.
So that's cool. Sean Hanlon said, I checked out the first 2 episodes earlier today. Good stuff, man. Keep on keeping on. Thanks, Sean. Sean lives in China.
Cool.
He's listening from China.
outreach. I
Hell
like
yeah.
that.
Jer Logan Burns says, good ep.
Oh, that's
All
just,
right.
that makes me proud. I like that.
Wow.
Very nice.
Thanks, Jer Logan, for your 2 words.
1 word and abbreviated words.
Couldn't even spell out episode.
People are on the go these days.
You guys are gonna-
They can't write episodes.
You guys are going to get a lot of positive response for this one because everyone loves Kevin Costner.
Oh, I know. Luke Emery or Emery says, good listen. I could listen to hours of Tecmo Super Bowl talk. To be honest, it truly sounded like everyone was having fun and laughing, which made it even more enjoyable. Good shit. Glowing review. And last one, Tabman, our good friend Tabman on SoundCloud said, God damn it. I want to play Tecmo Super Bowl right now. This strangely made me want to drink some beers with you dudes also. We had one review from Twitter. My dad listens. Hey Dad, really enjoying the show. Great spontaneity. Each episode is better than the last. I
Thank
take
you.
that to heart.
Thank you, Mr. Schwader.
Thank you, Dad. That fucking rules.
Yeah, that's nice.
We're at the end of Game and Movie Podcast episode 4 here. Woohoo! Yeah. Mark Peterson, you're involved in a lot of endeavors. You're a creative phenom, and everyone knows it. But they may not know how to contact you. How do we contact you?
How
do we check out what you do?
Anyone would want to contact me.
Well, I can't imagine it either, but why don't you just tell them how?
There was a very slight chance that they wanted to. I do have a YouTube page that is sorely undervisited. It's called My Chronic World. I have a few different amazing videos. I have Ninja House, the animated series up there.
Love it.
Some Christmas Chids music videos. They're
Love it.
The best Christmas band around.
Absolutely. You don't hear about Christmas bands now.
There's also Rock and Roller Remote Controller. You can check out the YouTube page, RRRCMKE. Which is just which we do an episode, and we have 2 bands that do a music video. Very entertaining episodes,
Just
I guess.
search for Rock and Roller Remote Control. You guys are up on Vimeo as well.
I think that might be defunct this point.
That might be defunct, but search for it. You're going to find it.
You're going to find it.
They're great episodes. That is some pure entertainment for you.
So just look for our free shit on YouTube, because it's worth your time. I mean, what else do you have going on?
Yeah.
Honestly.
The fuck else you got to do,
you dedicated listeners, you.
Trevor, how about you?
Wonderful people.
Do you want to be found, Trevor? Is there a place where you can be contacted? An email or
you can find me around
in his house with his 426 NES games.
Yeah, playing Fallout 4.
No, yeah, I'm not.
Right on.
I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on YouTube.
A real. If you were to compare Trevor to an NES game, you would say he's a diamond in the rough. A real gem.
Yes.
Anyways, you can find me on Facebook as Octavius Farnsworth. You can find me on Twitter as Anthony Dean Schwader. But the real thing I want to stress here is how to contact the show. On Facebook, we have a page. Search Game and Movie Podcast on Facebook. You can become friends with us. We'll tell you exactly when new episodes drop. Don't be shy at all.
It'll make our day.
It would, actually. All feedback is appreciated.
Can people send in suggestions for a game and a movie combination?
Yeah, of course. On Twitter, we are under Game and Movie USA. You can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Podomatic, Stitcher.
Oh, Skechers.
Skechers is a shoe.
Never.
Skechers a shoe. You find us on Stitcher and a host of other podcast apps. Our email is gameandmoviehellyeah@gmail.com. The only person to utilize it so far is sitting right across from me, Trevor. I lit up when you actually sent us an email.
I considered sending myself an email knowing I'd be on the show.
That would have been awesome. Let's bring this out with little Bryan Adams. Don't tell me it's not worth fighting for. I can't help it. There's nothing I want more. You know it's true. Everything I do it for you. Goodbye from Game and Movie Podcast, everyone!